This story begins with our protagonist arriving sinisterly, leading a group to the school gate. But that's what happens in the present. Until that day, a lot, and I mean a lot, happened to the protagonist. So let's start from the beginning. The name of the work, by the way, is To Not Die, and it truly begins with our protagonist in the classroom, writing his final words. Yes, it seems like the guy can't take it anymore. He says his school life is a living hell every single day. That's right, it's true. Man, on his birthday, they call him up to the school terrace and bring a cake for him to eat, but by force. He had to eat the cake off the floor. Then the guy says he's his only friend and that he should be grateful because otherwise, he'd spend his birthday alone. Afterward, the bully even takes his flip-flop and throws it all the way to the front of the school, telling him to fetch it because recess is over and they're heading back to class. And guess what? He goes to fetch it. When the teacher sees him outside in the courtyard alone, he yells, "Get back to class, you idiot! The lesson has started!" The crowd laughs, saying, "Look at him! Isn't that the loser who gets bullied? Man, look at this!" And they laugh at him, saying that if it were them, they'd have ended it already because he's a fool. They laugh like a pack of hyenas, bastards. And so, like every helpless protagonist who lacks strength, he can only beg in his mind, of course, because he doesn't have the courage to say it to their faces. "Please don't laugh at me. Don't do this to me. I can't take it anymore." So there's the protagonist, finishing his goodbye letter. Man, what you need to do in this situation is tell your parents, your teachers, someone to stop this, not write a letter. The guy even imagines how things would play out if the bully who torments him got arrested and blamed for it, how his parents and siblings would react at his funeral. Alright, but I still can't see how he becomes this powerful guy here. Then the protagonist goes home and bids his family his final goodbye. When he gets there, we notice what a disconnected family they are. His brother doesn't care about anyone and just studies during lunch. At least he's studying. His sister is the same, glued to her phone all the time, and his dad says, "Junior, get out of the way. I want to watch TV, kid." It seems like the family environment isn't great either. At that moment, there's a news report on TV about a student who took out 7 classmates the day before, all because of bullying. The reporters ask the guy, "Why did you do it?" Besides saying it was due to bullying, he claims he doesn't consider himself a murderer because the people he eliminated weren't human beings. The parents disagree, and the protagonist's father also disagrees, saying it's wrong no matter the reason. The guy had no right to do that. And then, live on air, the guy says for everyone to hear, "No matter what your problems are, nobody cares about them. You have to solve them, and taking your own life is not a solution. Don't take your life. The ones who deserve to go are those people." The guy says, "Do you feel betrayed, hopeless? Do you want to take your own life? Know that the ones who deserve to lose their lives are those people." And this hits the protagonist right in the face. It's like the guy is talking directly to him through the TV. His dad says it's nonsense, but Junior, in his mind, applauds the idea. Look at the idea the guy just gave him. Alright, nothing. Tell your parents, kid. But that's not what he does. So, he goes to his room, alone, to think about it. He wonders, is this the only way I can survive? But no, he's a coward. Especially because if he does that, he'll end up in jail, and his life will be over anyway, as he'll go to prison. Hear that, folks? Prison! Still, the guy says it's better to train. So he grabs a screwdriver in his room and starts practicing on his pillow, imagining what he'd do to the bully. Yep, our protagonist is clearly losing it. I can already see that powerful guy from the beginning of the story, but I'm not liking this path at all. So, the next day, there's our protagonist, Junior, sitting in class, wondering if he'll have the guts. He thinks that maybe the guy who keeps provoking him, might decide to forget about him and stop doing anything. He has nothing he can do. The guy walks up and slaps him on the head, asking if he's ready for another day of fun. The guy promises that today is going to be a very fun day, that they will do many things together, just like the good friends they are. The protagonist gets nervous, thinking, Now is the time, I'm going to eliminate him. But when the protagonist looks at the bully's face, he freezes. The guy tells him that he notices how, after so many years of being bullied, just looking at his face makes him freeze in fear. He can't do anything. It's like a dog hypnotized by food. So that's it, folks. After getting beaten up in the classroom, he already gets beaten a lot, the guy says. After class, come over again so you can get beaten up some more. Alright, is it fine? Yeah, it's fine. That's the guy, Mula. Without further delay, the scene cuts to after school, where the guys are taking their friend Juninho out for a walk. When they arrive, there's soda, Coke, popcorn for them to celebrate. Juninho, for a moment, he thought, will today be normal? It will, trust me. Look at what the guy is preparing for him. Coke, socks, dirt, noodles, instant ramen, spit, and who knows what else they threw in there. The guy says, this is your birthday drink. Drink it all. But, what were you saying? After so much bullying, the protagonist doesn't give up, doesn't stop being the fool. He goes there and drinks the trash mix, and the guy vomits. The bully tells him, "If you throw up, we'll make more, and you'll have to drink it until you can keep it down without throwing up." And of course, he can't. They empty the stock of liquor, ramen, and coke. Then, the friend tells the others to buy more, as they'll make even more for him. Only after they leave does the protagonist decide to try to escape. He runs away from the bully, but then, our protagonist is weak. He can't do anything, not even run, and he's also feeling sick, right? The guy catches him and beats him up again, as usual, and tells him there's no escape. Today, tomorrow, always, he will always get beaten up by the gang, and it will only get worse. He grabs the protagonist by the hair and drags him back to where they were. The protagonist remembers that he can't do anything when looking at the bully's face, but from behind, it's different. So he sees an opportunity coming, a four-wheeler. The protagonist doesn't think twice and pushes the guy in front of the vehicle. Bam! There was an impact there. Whoa, damn! After what he did, the protagonist leaves in a frenzy because he did something worse than what his bullies ever did to him. But then, would that count as self-defense? The protagonist thinks that night, he might end up being killed by the gang, whether it was deserved or not. Even though he doesn't feel guilty about what he did, he knows that sooner or later, people will find out the truth, and it will end badly for him. He even imagines himself arriving at school with the police waiting for him. When he gets to the classroom, the protagonist sees that the bully isn't there. Then the teacher informs the class that the student Lee Doyen was involved in a traffic accident and is in a coma. What? He's alive? The protagonist is already in shock, knowing that at some point, the truth will come out. But the teacher explains that, according to the police, the bully supposedly had an accident, or threw himself in front of the truck on his own. Whoa! So does that mean the protagonist is going to get away with it? It seems so, and for the first time, the protagonist has a normal day at school, without being beaten or insulted. During break time, he doesn't even know what to do because that's usually the time of day when he gets beaten the most. Overwhelmed with happiness, Juninho even cries with joy. While he's crying, one of his classmates asks if he wasn't the one who pushed the guy in front of the truck, but the classmate's friend pulls him away and says he's losing it. Don't listen to him. Are you an idiot? Do you think that coward would have the guts? You're scared. So the day passes peacefully, and the protagonist feels increasingly relieved as the dust settles, and nothing comes of it. Juninho, they're calling you to the teacher's office. Now I'm in trouble, he thinks. And it wasn't a mistake. The boy arrives at the office and is immediately arrested for attempted murder. The boy's teacher is in shock and says that this isn't possible because a useless student like this one wouldn't have the courage to do something like that. But in the modern world, where cameras are everywhere, the protagonist was caught on tape. With no way out, they arrest the protagonist. They even take him to visit the boy he put in a coma. The boy's mother is furious with Juninho. What did you do to my son? Sure, but what did her son do to Juninho? Actually, the craziest part is that everyone knew the bully had been tormenting the protagonist. That's why the protagonist doesn't get a long prison sentence. He only gets 2 years of probation. But the consequences don't stop there. At school, the protagonist is expelled without even having the chance to defend himself, and the devils, his classmates, just keep saying it was deserved. I'd like to see how they'd feel if they were in Juninho's place, getting beaten up. And you think it's over? When Juninho gets home, he's kicked out as well. Man, in just one day, he got arrested, expelled from school, and thrown out of his house. And to make matters worse, as soon as he's out on the street, it starts raining. That classic cliché, when you're at your lowest, it starts raining out of nowhere to make everything even worse. But at least, it can't get worse than this, right? Right. Then look who's there. The bully's friends are there to settle scores with Juninho. Just because he was expelled doesn't mean the bullying will stop, right? And they start beating him up right away. They beat Juninho so badly that it even stops raining. The bully has the audacity to say to him, "No matter how wrong Lee Doyen was, you had no right to push him in front of a truck." What? Does this guy have a sense of right and wrong? Beating up the boy all the time is okay, but pushing him in front of a truck isn't? So, as the protagonist is being beaten, he starts thinking, how many times has this guy made me think about taking my own life, while being punched and kicked, smashed? Man, this guy has taken more hits than a UFC fighter, for sure. The situation becomes so extreme that the protagonist starts getting angry while he's being beaten. They're the bastards. They're the ones responsible for all this. Everything that happened is their fault. While the protagonist tries to defend himself as best he can, guess what he does next? He picks up a brick and hits the bully. And not just once, twice, 3 times, smashing the brick into him. The bully doesn't get up again. At that moment, our protagonist, Juninho, finally decides to fight back and stop taking it silently. But 5 against 1? No way. Maybe if it were a different kind of 5 against 1, he might win. The beating was already ugly when the group of bullies started going way too far. They were nearly about to make the protagonist lose an eye. Man, I was getting scared by this. The level of these fights isn't healthy anymore. But luckily, put some luck in that, a guy shows up holding instant noodles, asking what the group is doing at his house. Wait, I didn't get it. Is this a prank? Are you a homeless guy by any chance? Yeah, I am. It's not a prank. And by the way, that brick over there was my pillow, and you've covered it in blood. Okay, man, but if you don't leave, I'll break your face. So, what's it gonna be? Alright, I'll leave. Bye. See, folks, that's how it's done. And then, bam, a kick straight to the bully's mouth, almost knocking his head off. The guy starts crushing the bully barehanded, using tactics like throwing sand in his eyes and then punching him to clean it out. When another guy comes at him with a club, he dodges and knees him in the stomach. Then he throws the bully onto another one. Tell me, how many fingers am I holding up? Man, after humiliating 3 of them without breaking a sweat, the 4th guy still has the guts to go after him. But then, the noodles guy tells him to hold on. He asks the bully if he really wants to test his luck against him while holding this. At that moment I think, that must be a knife hidden in the newspaper. Then noodles guy throws the knife, which turns out to be his chopsticks. Gotcha, huh? And he still smashes him with a blow to the face. The protagonist, Juninho, still trembling with fear, just watches in awe at how strong the guy is, beating them up as if he's playing around. Afterward, he starts tapping the bullies' noses with his fingers. After taking so many hits, Noodles guy lets the bullies go, and the protagonist goes to thank him for saving his life. But to our surprise, the guy says no. He actually does live here, and those guys were trespassing on his house. In disbelief, the protagonist thinks, so the guy really is a homeless person. Now that the protagonist has learned to go after his goals, he approaches the guy and asks him to teach him how to fight like he does. The guy responds by slapping his hand away and asking if he's crazy or if he also wants to get beaten up. The guy is angry, but then again, who wouldn't be after losing their dinner and being left hungry? But then Juninho says he'll buy him some instant ramen and pleads, "Please don't hit me too." The guy agrees. Later, at the convenience store, while the guy eats, Juninho starts sharing his sad story. Let me guess. Juninho tells a sad story. The guy gets moved and teaches Juninho how to fight. The guy admits Juninho's story is really sad. He gets beaten up every day, has been kicked out of his house and school. But even so, the guy says his own story is even sadder. Regardless, he refuses to teach the protagonist how to fight. Thanks for the ramen though, Juninho begs, but the guy keeps saying no, that it doesn't matter. He tells Juninho he's just a spoiled kid, raised in a bubble, and that he'd never adapt to life on the streets. So, there's no point in even trying to learn how to fight. Juninho, however, insists, but I've already been kicked out of my house. If I don't learn to fight, I'm going to get taken out. Will you teach me? Absolutely not. The guy says he won't teach him, and tells him not to follow him. But with no other choice, since he needs to survive on the streets, the protagonist decides to follow the guy anyway to watch what he does and try to learn how to be strong by imitating him, because the guy is strong. So Juninho decides to copy everything the guy does. When the protagonist sees the guy taking clothes from a donation bin, he imitates him, but it doesn't work out. Later, the protagonist sees the guy going to a park and eating cat food, so he decides to copy that too. Idiot, stop eating the cat food. Later, he sees the guy sleeping during the day on the playground at the park. Yeah, that makes no sense at all. Juninho realizes that the guy is simply a homeless person, living as best he can. So, following and imitating him isn't going to lead to any results. The protagonist begins to lose hope, until he sees the guy needing to fight during the day. He watches as the guy beats up a group of people when necessary. Then, he starts to believe again that this guy might be his salvation. After following him all day, the guy notices and says he's changed his mind. He'll teach the protagonist how to fight, but on one condition. Let's go over there, in the dark corner, so you can do me a little favor. Juninho, suspicious, asks if it's a joke. The guy with the piercing says that over there is one of the guys who was beating up Juninho yesterday, one of the guys he taught a lesson to. Now, he wants Juninho to face him his own way and defeat the bully. If he can do it his way, the guy will teach Juninho how to fight and survive on the streets. After all, the protagonist is now homeless too. Of course, Juninho, filled with rage, immediately remembers his school days when the bully always got the better of him. There was even a day when the guy came with some apology speech, saying he felt bad about everything that happened, and extended his hand to Juninho. Look at the face of this demon. The protagonist, however, knew he shouldn't shake his hand, but the others forced him to. The bully then squeezed Juninho's hand hard, as if trying to hurt him, pure malice. Now tell me that guy doesn't deserve a beating? Let's not even mention worse things. The bully was waiting for his other friends when Juninho suddenly attacked, kicking him in the back. The guy with the piercing was even impressed. Juninho already thought he had won, but the bully quickly hit him with a punch to the face that felt like a brick. Juninho was stunned by the blow. "It's broken, man! He broke my nose!" And the bully, totally chill, starts landing more punches, while the guy with the piercing begins to think the protagonist is a waste of time. That first hit was pure luck. Meanwhile, the bully promises that this time he's going to completely destroy Juninho. But then, unexpectedly, the protagonist reacts and goes after the bully, landing a punch. Juninho then yells, "A closed mouth doesn't let flies in, or in this case, trash, right?" Juninho strikes again. Even though the protagonist doesn't have enough strength, he tries to copy the techniques of the piercing guy to take down the delinquent. Of course, almost none of the techniques work. He fails at all of them. But the piercing guy starts getting impressed again. The delinquent mocks Juninho, asking how an insect like him thinks he can ever get revenge. This time, though, Juninho is no longer afraid, and he doesn't wear that loser expression he always had. Instead, he's got fire in his eyes, and blood on his mouth and nose, too. The delinquent gets irritated with him, orders him to wipe that look off his face, and throws more punches. It hurts just watching. Look at that slap and punch. The piercing guy had sent the protagonist to fight this guy as a test. Both of them knew the delinquent was stronger than Juninho, but the most important thing was for him to give it his all to win. It's not just strength that determines a street fight. No, sometimes it's about tactics. Well, that and a .38. True, sometimes, at least. Or as Itachi would say, it's also about hatred. When the delinquent starts to leave because Juninho failed, he gets a surprise. Juninho pulls out a knife and presses it against his stomach. What? A knife? The guy has lost it. The delinquent says Juninho doesn't have the guts and grabs the fake knife. "What is this crap? Hold this garbage like you used to hold my hand, you idiot!" But then the delinquent squeezes it and realizes it's real. It's an actual knife. The piercing guy explains that when someone fights against a weapon like a knife, most people feel fear. But how long does that fear last? Juninho had made a toothpick knife earlier just to fake out his opponent quickly, but this time, when the delinquent grabbed his knife, things got weird. The delinquent was more than scared. He ran off. Has the protagonist gone mad? Lost it completely? The protagonist starts using the knife handle to hit him, something I've never seen before. Juninho smashes the guy, who even has the nerve to ask for a break to breathe. "Oh, you want to breathe? Then breathe this, you son of a..." The protagonist begins to vent as he beats him, recalling everything the guy and his crew did to him. He gets emotional. Once, he was the one begging to be spared. Now, it's the delinquent's turn. Juninho gets even more emotional, but then he makes the mistake of lowering his guard in front of the guy. "No, man!" The piercing guy and heck, everyone watching, agree that Juninho was an idiot. Now, with all the rage in the world, the delinquent decides to show Juninho how it's done. He grabs the knife and stabs Juninho in the leg. Except, it's a ruler. Yes, it was a ruler. But honestly, even though it was just a ruler, it probably hurt like hell. The delinquent was fooled. Juninho even mocks him, saying that if he was scared of a ruler, then he's the real coward here. Now I get it. I understand. The protagonist used something that looked like a knife to trick the guy. Meanwhile, the delinquent goes berserk and starts pounding Juninho in the face with his fists. But then, as calm as can be, the piercing guy throws a yogurt bottle at the delinquent's head. Without thinking twice, the delinquent charges at him. The piercing guy even gives him space to gain momentum before landing a perfect left kick to the delinquent's stomach. He tells the protagonist that, in the end, he lost, so he won't teach him how to fight. But after seeing Juninho's determination and hatred, he decides to give him another chance. If Juninho wants to become a real man, he'll have to survive alongside him and his friends for a while. And if you thought it was weird for the piercing guy to send Juninho to live in a house that isn't even his, the gang thinks so too. They ask why Juninho is there. Juninho explains that Hangil, the piercing guy, told him to stay there for a while to learn how to fight. The gang finds it absurd but can't kick him out because Hangil said he should stay. Apparently, Hangil has some serious street cred with these guys. They're basically his friends. But if they're his friends, why is Hangil living on the streets? Anyway, the gang lets Juninho stay, but not for free. They put him through Karate Kid-style training. Actually, it's not even training. It's just payment for living there. And it's fair, right? Dog food is expensive, after all. Not mocking here. I know it says Cantuna. After a few days working as a helper, the protagonist, coming back from the market in the gang's neighborhood, gets noticed by one of the guys. The guy immediately sees him as a target and tries to mess with him, saying the kid looked at his girl and that he's in trouble. No way. Who would look at a girl like that, man? Only to laugh at her face, not to mention the guy himself. Ugly as hell. What a joke. The protagonist is like a magnet for trouble. Juninho also remembers that if he wants to survive, he's going to have to man up, and now is the time. So, as the guy is about to slap him, the protagonist gets ready to fight back. The guy is surprised, but not because of the protagonist, because of the guy behind him. The newcomer asks what he's doing with his helper. Not really caring, he just pushes past the guy, grabs the protagonist, and says, "Let's go." But just that shoulder bump seems to break the other guy's nose, or at least it looked like it did. The guy is furious, but his friends tell him not to do anything. If he doesn't know, those people are part of Hangil's gang. Hangil? The guy with the piercing who leads the gang? So he's got status. Then why is he living on the streets? Is he crazy? Anyway, the blockhead here, the ugly guy who's great as comic relief, doesn't let it go and charges at him with a kunai, thinking he'd have a chance. What an idiot, truly dumb. He gets wrecked instantly by the man there. What a beast, I expected nothing less. He even calls the rest to come at him, daring them, but they just trust him and leave. The girl says, "Forget about that animal lying there. Who told him to be so stupid?" and just vanishes. The protagonist is left there stunned, thinking, are all of Hangil's friends this strong? Yes, they are. Didn't you see the guy's legs when he showed up? Even that girl must pack a serious punch. A monster, but alright. Pay attention because now things start getting really intense. The guy lying there, furious about getting beaten, is now punching a wall. Maybe he's a masochist and doesn't realize it. He says he wants revenge on those guys and that they'll pay. Wrong. They'll pay with their lives. He just doesn't know how yet. Then a mysterious man shows up, asking if he wants to take them out. He knows how and can help. They don't even show the name of this guy, just cuts to a few days later. The ugly one is sneaking around at night with a gas tank, pumping gas into the gang's house. What rage that kid has! And look at the chaos. Everyone's asleep. Lucky for them, the protagonist wakes up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and smells the gas as he steps out of the laundry room, which is his bedroom. The guys sleeping there are already passed out from the gas. The protagonist immediately runs to open the door, following the smell, and slams it right into the face of some punk. Of course, the delinquent flees instantly. Seeing the guy run off, the protagonist first thinks, because he's not dumb, to pull everyone out of the room to save them from the gas. Once everyone's safe, now he's ready to go after the guy and prove his worth. But I'm thinking to myself, as much as the protagonist tries, he doesn't know how to fight. This is going to end badly for him. That guy is nuts. Then comes the magic of the flashback. While staying with the somewhat decent gangsters, the protagonist had asked repeatedly for training. Finally, out of persistence, the guy tells him to jump rope, explaining that when he trained hard, he used to jump about 100,000 times a day. So, the protagonist is told to just jump a bit to start his training. Sure, the next steps, push-ups, running, you name it. But the entire day passes, and the next day, the guy goes looking for the protagonist and finds him still on the rooftop. With a baffled look, he asks, "Were you here since yesterday?" "Yes, I'm almost done. Just 47,000 more. What a trip." And now that we've seen the protagonist jump rope like crazy, can we really believe he's ready to beat that guy in a fight? No, of course not. No one here is stupid. The protagonist tries to stop the guy in every way possible, but it's not working. He even throws the guy down the stairs, and in the end, the weirdo pulls out a razor and says, "I'm going to kill you now, come on." And he really tries to slice the protagonist, but at least Juninho manages to dodge. He's getting better at it, but things keep getting uglier and uglier. And once again, the question arises, why is the protagonist so crazy about catching this guy? He didn't give up, not even when the guy pulled out a razor. Somebody save this kid, but let's understand why. The others, when they wake up after being knocked out, try to figure out what happened, who saved them, and where Juninho is. He disappeared. Then Dayob remembers that the protagonist, when pulling him out of the house, tried to wake him up, but Dayob was too out of it from the gas to wake up properly. He recalls the protagonist asking him to promise something. "If I bring the guy here, you'll start teaching me properly and help divide up the housework fairly, right?" "Yeah, I'm not promising anything." "Well, then it's promised. Don't forget I'm off. See you later." So that's why the protagonist is so determined to catch this guy. The guy even grabbed a Tramontina knife in his hand and said he wasn't going anywhere. Then the weirdo tells the protagonist, "No, you're not taking me anywhere. If you want to take me, you'll have to kill me first." And the protagonist, completely furious, says, "Fine." The guy runs and jumps off the bridge with him. Oh my god! He jumped with the guy, and somehow it works out. Juninho pulls off a secret move he learned that day, brick throw, but he didn't even need it. The guy celebrates his first win in the concrete jungle. I was worried though, because maybe this guy has lost the fight forever. He won't even have another chance to lose again. And also, maybe Juninho won't lose another fight either, because there won't be another chance. Dead is dead. Just kidding. The protagonist wakes up in the hospital with his crew around him. They tell him they found him after they woke up. They also mention that, technically, Juninho lost the fight, but it doesn't matter because he saved everyone from the gas, and that's what counts. They can't believe he jumped off the bridge with the guy. The protagonist is brave, or just really stupid? Then Hangul shows up and announces that now the protagonist has officially passed the test and can start training with the crew. He's finally going to become a real man. Oh, now we're talking. But first, a rooftop barbecue to celebrate, and to apologize to Juninho since they'd kind of treated him like crap before. He only ate tuna and rice and worked like their maid. Everyone there has had a rough life, but they came together to get stronger. Now the protagonist can officially live with them, no more sleeping alone in the laundry room. But honestly, I think he might have preferred sleeping in the laundry room. Just a guess. Now the protagonist starts really getting used to the group and even discovers that they aren't much older than him. The oldest and their leader, Hangul, is 19. At 18, old enough to be arrested, too, are Taek and Sunwon. And at 17, there's Daeob, Gaeong, and the protagonist himself, Juninho. Well, his real name is Dejun, but that's pretty bad, so Juninho it is, sounds better. Everyone here has a part-time job to help with the house bills. Motorcycle mechanic, bar cashier, even a guy who works at Tokyo Ghoul Cafe, which, by the way, made me nostalgic for the first season. It was so good. Another guy here is a tattoo artist. Super cool. Well, not everyone works. The lazy one here never worked, and still doesn't. He gets away with it just because he's the group leader. He even says that's just how it is, he's the boss. The protagonist is also given the option to skip working and start learning how to fight right away. Go work, you lazy kid. No way he's skipping work. He's the youngest, and he just got here. Of course, he's going to have to work, and then he can learn how to fight, and bulk up too. He's so skinny. Compared to these guys, he's like a stick. These guys are beasts. It's like a bodybuilding mansion, except the monsters here also happen to be delinquents. Or rather, hard workers. The protagonist's first job was at a pizzeria near his house, but he didn't like the place. In the first week, he already wanted to quit and find another job. But then a girl walks in, calls his boss Dad, and the boss tells her to teach the guy how to work since he's doing a terrible job. When she approaches and looks at him, the protagonist smiles, and he changes his mind about quitting faster than you can like this video. Am I wrong? The girl's name is Nian, and since she's the boss's daughter, she knows everything about the pizzeria and is super nice to the protagonist. The protagonist even says the customers at the place are unbearable, but with her there, he'd work forever. Now pay attention to this customer. The girl goes to tell a guy not to smoke in the store, and he says, "Who is she to tell me that?" and throws a soda on her head. Man, my blood boiled instantly, and so did the protagonist's. He went to help her, but then the store owner, her dad, stopped him, apologized to the guy, and said the employee was in the wrong. Later, the protagonist asks him why he didn't do anything, since the guy humiliated his daughter. The boss explains that, in this neighborhood, there's a criminal organization, and ordinary people can't stand up to them. Many stores have been destroyed when they went against those guys in any way. So that's it. You just have to accept it, keep suffering, and survive. What a mess. Meanwhile, in his free time, the protagonist trains with Hangul. It's running up and down stairs, jumping rope, doing push-ups, squats, sit-ups, but no punching. The protagonist says he wants to throw punches, but Hangul tells him he needs to improve a lot before he can do that. But the protagonist insists he wants to punch like the guy in the video. Then Hangul tells him that before throwing punches, he has to learn how to dodge them first. So, let's go. What's that? The kid dodged. Was it luck? It wasn't luck. Again. The protagonist is learning. He's getting better. Now it's time to train real punches. Meanwhile, a few days later, in an abandoned warehouse, the guy who encouraged the punk to attack the protagonist shows up to demand results, since the guy didn't finish the job and even paid for it. So now he's going to pay another way. The delinquent massacres him and asks, "Can you swallow this? Are you experienced?" "Oh, you're not? Too bad for him. It didn't end well." That's all that's left of the guy. Then the thug tells the group, who are the guy's henchmen, to go after Hangul's gang and bring them to him so he can finish the job himself. I already warned you, this is going to end badly. So, let's liven things up by watching punches land on those who deserve it. This guy here sent the punk to try to kill our group with gas that day, and he failed. He made the punk take the blame, and then sent his henchmen after Hangul's gang to bring them back so he could finish the job. And they go, what choice do they have? Either that or they end up like the punk. The guys go looking for Hangul's group at the pizzeria where the protagonist works, but they don't come asking nicely. They storm in, breaking everything, slapping the owner, and asking where Taek is since they know he knows him. The pizzeria owner does know Taek, but he doesn't tell them anything, and that's when our protagonist arrives. Now I ask you, dear viewers, what would you do? The girl sees the protagonist through the window, and tells him not to do anything, just leave, run. And what about you? Would you run, or do what Juninho does? With such an easy target, he still manages to miss hitting the guy with a bottle. He started poorly, but at least he's no longer a coward. Before, he'd just take the hits silently, but now he's standing up to this mountain of fat. The big guy sees the protagonist as a little puppy and tells him to scram, but the protagonist only fires back with, "You big fat pig," and the big guy can't handle it. He charges at the protagonist. The protagonist kicks a chair, gets into position like he learned from his master, throws a jab to soften him up, and then lands a straight punch to the guy's forehead. Nian, watching the boy she just met fighting like a real man, starts to like him, and I start shipping them. But the protagonist still lacks the strength to finish the fight. The guy gets up as if nothing happened and tries to hit the protagonist in every possible way. I don't know if it's because the guy is way too slow, and you all know why, or because the protagonist has become really good at dodging now. The protagonist dodges and punches the guy in the face until he's out of breath, but the mountain of fat is still standing. Now, the protagonist is cornered in the room. One punch from that walking wardrobe, and I'd be out cold, but at least the protagonist hasn't lost any teeth yet, so that's something. It's bad, but it could be worse. Oh wait, it did get worse. Would the fight end there with Juninho's defeat, or something even worse? I'm dying over here. At that moment, Nian tries to help him escape from the guy, but she gets slapped in the ear too. Oh man, I hate this guy so much. But remember Hangel's teachings. In a street fight, anything goes. Spit in your enemy's eye to blind them. The guy comes back swinging with more punches to the mouth, but the protagonist's weak punches don't hurt him. So, he grabs something hard and starts hitting. Take that, take that, take that. The protagonist smashes the guy with a bottle. He gets so psychotic that even after knocking the guy out, he keeps going, totally losing it. Nian has to tell him, "It's over, man. Calm down, take it easy." At first I thought, well, it wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good. But then again, it's never good. The protagonist is completely wrecked after the fight, and then the guy's friends show up looking for him and see the whole scene. Oh man, even all beaten up, the protagonist doesn't show fear. He tells them to come on because he'll take them all down too. Oh wow, I don't know. I think he might actually beat them. But just then, Take shows up. Man, these guys thought they'd catch him alone. Take arrives and greets each of them with a punch to the mouth. He says the protagonist has already pushed himself enough. Now he'll take over. He just asks which one of them wants to sleep forever first, and it's all slaps, punches, and monster-level kicks. In less than 10 seconds, all the guys are lying on the floor, completely wrecked. Damn boy, the protagonist is left speechless. I'm speechless. You're speechless too. Take asks them who sent them here, threatening more punches if they don't talk. One of them spills everything, saying it was He Guang. Is that everything you've got to say? And then Take says, "Good, now go see if there's bread over there," landing another punch. Totally deserved. Let's break down the situation. Take explains to the protagonist, and to us, that this gang has wiped out all the local mobsters and wants to take over the entire area. Even the police have given up on this neighborhood, and the leader of this gang is Chun Ki-woong. The guy is like Negan from The Walking Dead, swinging around his crazy bat. Take says he and his crew already suspected this gang was the one who attacked them with gas, all because they blocked them from taking a piece of the neighborhood. He also tells the pizza shop owner that he tried his best to keep him out of their personal problems, but it looks like it didn't work out. Now the situation seems even worse. What if the pizza shop catches fire too? And poor Nian, man, she just keeps suffering in the middle of this mess. Meanwhile, Dayob is on the phone with Take, trying to get updates on what happened. Then he sees another fight breaking out somewhere else. A gang is shaking down an old woman's shop because she didn't pay her full taxes to the thugs. Now she really won't pay. Her shop is ruined. Of course, Dayob doesn't let it slide. He steps in to see what's going on. And as expected, he beats the crap out of the guys, especially after realizing they're part of the same gang led by Negan. Speaking of the devil, what a coward. Negan hits Dayob from behind, right on the head, and shows up with his full crew. Now things have gotten messy again. This guy is unbelievably cowardly. When the protagonist and Take get home to tell everyone about the chaos that just unfolded, a girl in the house starts yelling at them. In their house, not mine, but it could have been. She points her finger at the guys and tells them they're all crazy and need to leave the neighborhood right now. She says there's no way they can take on these people, but Take refuses to back down. Why not? The pizza there is so good. If they close the shop, what are we gonna do? Are you kidding me? Is this some kind of joke? She asks if he has air in his head, but another guy agrees with him. And I agree. Facts are facts, no arguments there. Nothing beats a good pizza, and an ice-cold Coke too. After being defeated by logic, the protagonist asks, "Where's Dayob? At this hour? The guy should already be here." And right then, everyone's phones buzz at the same time. The thugs send a picture of Dayob tied up and beaten to a pulp, saying that if they don't come to the abandoned factory in the woods tonight, he's done for. On the way to the scene, the group stops and asks the protagonist if he really wants to go into this fight. They tell him he doesn't have to, and honestly, he might just get in the way. But he's going. This kid is starting to get bold. When they arrive, Dayob is in terrible shape. Negan hits him on the head one more time and stomps on it to intimidate the group, making everyone furious. Us too. I want this guy's blood. Negan mocks them, saying their leader didn't even show up, calling them a bunch of cowards and other insults. But then the girl interrupts, asking if they came here to listen to some idiot talk or to fight. And that's when it starts. Let's go. It's 10 against 3. No, wait, 4, because the protagonist is here too. Take comes in hard, landing heavy blows on the thugs. Sung dodges and lands punches straight to the forehead. They're doing great when one of the thugs targets the skinny guy and the woman, probably thinking they're easy prey. The protagonist steps in front of Gaeong, but she shoves him aside and takes on the guy herself. A true ninja move. Like a ninja, she suplexes the guy and asks, "Who's the easy target now?" This is it, people. Everyone's holding their ground. But in Juninho's first exchange, he tries using fire against the thug but gets caught instead. And then the madness begins. Thugs never fight fair, do they? He orders everyone to kneel, threatening to perform surgery on the protagonist if they don't. What choice do they have? They give in. Take approaches the thug, giving him a slight smirk. The protagonist had already said on the way there that if he caused trouble, they could abandon him without hesitation. But that's not why Take is smiling. It's because a guy like the protagonist doesn't fear these things anymore. For someone who's written a farewell letter before, grabbing a shard and headbutting a thug is no big deal. And then, a fight breaks out. Take goes head-to-head with the thug, but his men grab Take, and things get tricky for them. At that moment, the protagonist steps in to help, landing a blow on Negan too. But any confidence Juninho had disappears when he faces the thug directly. For the first time, he feels a fear unlike anything before. He realizes this guy could actually kill him. Negan punches him in the stomach, and he collapses in a corner. But when Negan turns back to face Take, it's already too late. The rest of the thugs are scattered on the ground like garbage, and the group is ready for a 3-on-1 showdown. Oh, is 3-on-1 unfair? And wasn't 10-on-3 unfair earlier? So, the three of them go after Negan, landing punches and holding him down. But it's no use. The guy is clearly strong, throwing everyone off and grabbing a metal bat to smash against the locker. And just like that, all his men get back up again. It was like some kind of summoning magic. More people even show up. Now there are about 15 of them. Yes, the group loses the fight against so many opponents. Negan, the monster, tells them he knows the pizzeria crew lied to cover for Take. So he's sending a guy who enjoys playing with fire to visit their shop right now. He grabs his phone and calls. But what the hell is this? The protagonist, in desperation, bites the thug's leg and gets knocked out again. Business as usual. Now Negan picks up the phone and calls again. The guy answers with, "Pizzeria," but the voice on the other end isn't what he expected. At that moment, the person he called is thrown into the warehouse, toothless and bloody, still holding the phone. And then Hangil speaks, using the guy's phone, even though he's now standing in front of them. He says, "I won't stop, even if you try to exploit me. Now it's over for you." He adds, "Why the hell would you send your location? An abandoned factory? I didn't even know where this dump was, but it doesn't matter now. And for what you did to my family, things are about to get really bad for you. 15 against 4. Our crew lost, and now it's 15 against 1. Let's see what happens." The first guy charges in and is the first to get wrecked. "My arm. It's broken." 7 more guys come in, but Hangil dodges here, smashes one guy's nose, dodges there, and when needed, grabs something off the ground to bash another guy's forehead. The man is a fighting master, but in a street fight, anything goes, and anything in his hands becomes a deadly weapon. Negan, feeling threatened, grabs Take as a hostage, but without hesitation, Hangil says, "Everyone's already here, ready to take the loss," and he's not stopping for anything. Hangil starts taking out one guy after another right in front of Negan, and even when Negan tries to attack him, Hangil dodges with ease. Only after destroying everyone does he finally turn to Negan. Now it's time for the show we've all been waiting for. It's punches to the mouth, kicks that bend his steel bat, pure destruction. Negan tries to knock Hangil down to pummel him, but learn your lesson, fool. Hangil is the master of fighting, knowing how to use anything and every situation to his advantage. And the key point, Hangil doesn't hesitate. This guy isn't just talk, he breaks the guy's arm on the spot, and now fear sets in. Then Hangil says that the arsonist confessed it was Negan's gang that sent the gas guy to his house. And now, he's about to set fire to something, lighting up Negan's thoughts to teach him some manners. Help, things just got good, right? We saw Negan's gang try to wipe out Hangil's crew and beat everyone up. But when the real boss showed up, Negan learned not to play with fire. Literally, he got the worst beating of his life, earned himself a nasty tattoo, and with some luck, died after our crew left. Hopefully, everyone who got beaten up ended up in the hospital, and the bill wasn't cheap. But the cool part, the pizza shop owner covered the bill for our crew. A few days later, everything in the neighborhood was back to normal. The crazy mercenaries were gone, the neighborhood was calm, and the pizza shop was doing fine too. The only difference now is that our crew has the reputation of being the toughest in the neighborhood after taking down those guys. They're closer than ever, like a real family. Nothing but good vibes for Juninho. But at Juninho's job, he accidentally spots Nian hiding, almost in tears. When he tries to talk to her, she brushes it off and, surprisingly, casually asks him out after school. Well, it was bad, but now it's good. Look at this. Things are looking up for our protagonist. That's what I'm talking about. The next day, there he is, our boy, all dressed up and nervous, waiting for her outside the school. Look at that progress. Waiting for the girl outside school is the best way to get everyone's attention. Soon enough, he'll have all the girls after him. He even dressed up to impress. But honestly, it was pure luck because if Dayob hadn't stopped him on his way out of the house and told him to dress properly for the date, he'd have shown up looking like a total idiot. Fortunately, it all worked out, and there he is. When he sees his girl still inside the school, surrounded by other guys, her reaction makes it obvious, and he realizes it too. She's being bullied. That's why she's been so upset at work. Man, this makes me so angry. 3 grown men picking on one person. Come pick on me instead. What's wrong with you? It'd be nothing but punches to their heads. Or maybe not. I might just run away. Who knows? But it's not me. When one of the guys is about to cross the line with his wandering hands, the protagonist steps in to set things straight, asking the guy if he's ever been beaten up by a loser before. What do you mean, Juninho? You're no loser. You're winning. The group doesn't take Juninho seriously. They just laugh at him. And, as usual, they slap him in the face. The guy grabs the girl and pulls her away, just like that. But what's going on here? Look at this pest. A scumbag who calls me Danga deserves to get hit in the face like that. The protagonist lands a punch on the thug's nose to teach him a lesson, and sauce starts dripping from it immediately. The protagonist might not be the strongest in the group yet, but he's got courage to spare. He trades punches with the guy for a moment but comes out worse, taking a hit to the chin that nearly knocks him out. Yet he doesn't give up. He gets up and stands his ground again. Impressive. The crowd around them comments that Juninho is dumb. How could he mess with a guy who used to be a boxer? He's done for. Big deal. If he's an ex-boxer, it's because he couldn't cut it. He's useless. Let's see the protagonist smash a brick on this guy's head too. But the fight doesn't go any further because the kids are still in school. As the commotion starts drawing attention, people begin recording. The thug decides to leave, realizing that a fight could get him into trouble at school. But he walks away angry, looking back to warn the protagonist that he's on his radar now. It's the other way around, idiot. After this chaos, the group heads to their meeting spot, but the mood is far from good. Not that it could be. Just 20 minutes earlier, the girl had been harassed, and there's no way to feel happy so soon after that. But then, the most beautiful moment and greatest character development for the protagonist so far happens. Juninho, noticing Nian's state, speaks to her with complete sincerity. He tells her he understands how hard it is to talk about what's happening, sharing that he was also bullied at school and couldn't tell anyone because it would only make things worse. He also tells her she can't handle this all by herself, that nothing will get better if she doesn't do something, and she'll end up losing everything, just like he lost everything. So, to make sure she doesn't end up like him, he offers to help her, if she'll let him. That's it, kid! Well done, congratulations. Right then, the girl blushes, breaks down, and tells him how unbearable it all is for her. She shares how the guy started out normal but later began harassing her, touching her leg, and even forcing other victims in the class to do the same to her. Honestly, someone like that doesn't deserve to live. It's true. She explains that she wanted to ask for help and tell her father, but because of the problems he was already having with the gang at the pizzeria, she kept it all to herself. Now, though, she's opened up to the protagonist, and you all know what the mission is now, don't you? I don't even have to say it. That same night, Danga, the scumbag, is harassing another girl at a karaoke bar. He forced some guy's girlfriend to come with him, and when the boyfriend confronted him, the thug beat him up. Unacceptable. To stop her boyfriend from getting hurt further, the girl obeyed the thug. To everyone watching, he forces the girl to sing for them. But imagine the things a pest like him does that couldn't be shown in a manga. This guy definitely deserves what's coming. While in the bathroom with another scumbag, Danga brags that since the girl obeyed after seeing her boyfriend beaten, he'll do the same with Nian. He plans to take Juninho hostage to make her do whatever he wants. And to do that, he sent someone to follow the protagonist. Oh, you fools. Take that. The protagonist clobbers the first guy with a fire extinguisher so he doesn't interfere and goes after Danga as well. But Danga blocks the attack, though it clearly hurt his hand. The protagonist knows he'll lose in a straight-up fight, but he still throws the extinguisher to distract Danga and dives into the brawl. Punches are thrown, dodged, and landed. Juninho even gets a hit on Danga's chin. Wow, Juninho, You should have lost a tooth there, man. But the punches keep coming, and Danga, a former boxer, pummels Juninho's face relentlessly until his hands start to hurt. And what now, Juninho? Are you just going to take this? No. Danga declares he's going to destroy the protagonist, and then force Neon to do whatever he wants. That's when Juninho's blood boils. He charges back, throwing everything he has, landing a jab. And guess what? Another punch comes right back at him, leaving him staggering to the side. How is this guy's nose not broken yet? It must be. Danga, the side character, comes at the protagonist with full malice, ready to smash his nose. In a moment of opportunity, the protagonist throws the door in his way, better than taking it to the face. The door is solid. Does your hand hurt now, idiot? Now the guy, who's right-handed, has messed up his hand. The protagonist charges at him like a madman, only to get punched in the mouth again, this time by the guy's left hand. He goes for it again and again, punch after punch, bam, bam. The protagonist just keeps getting hit in the face with the guy's left hand. This wasn't supposed to be a fight. It's like watching Tanjiro try 10 times until the other guy gets tired of punching his face. Then the protagonist declares that now the guy is in trouble. His right hand is out of commission, but he's still getting beaten up. I don't get it. Juninho keeps going after the guy, takes more hits from the left hand, but doesn't fall. He gets closer to the guy, who's now holding his right hand as if to intimidate the protagonist. Oh, does your hand hurt now, idiot? Finally, the protagonist gets close to him. And I have to ask, for what, exactly? Cue the flashback. When Hangil, the protagonist's master, sent him on this suicide mission, he told him that there was no way to win against a former boxer in a fistfight. The strategy was to close the distance and use leg attacks. So take this, and this, and this, a knee to the stomach. I thought we were about to see a Mortal Kombat fatality. If the knee to the stomach doesn't finish him off, here comes the big one. If the guy resists and tries to escape, grab him by the hair, get some momentum, and slam your knee into his face with full force. Oh yeah, now we're talking. And when there's a flashback of the side character remembering how he used to win everything and is now getting beaten to a pulp, you know it's over for him. He's getting wrecked, his face smashed. But then, we remember, the idiots came as a trio. Fatty shows up, catching the protagonist off guard and holding him down. Oh, come on, man, not like this. The guy the protagonist was trying to teach a lesson to gets up and says he's going to show him what it feels like to take a fire extinguisher to the head. What the hell? For a second, I was worried. But then I remembered, if the guy's friend showed up to ruin the protagonist's party, the protagonist's friend can show up and do the same. Enter Hangil. A single kick to the back, and the guy is out. Fatty doesn't even see it coming. He takes one to the forehead and is out cold too. That's the difference between a master and an amateur. Now comes the real lesson, folks. Pay attention. This one's for us too. Hangil tells the protagonist he learns quickly, very quickly. He managed to beat the guy, but the guy tried to retaliate at the first chance. The lesson is, you can't leave someone like that halfway defeated. You have to crush their spirit so they won't attack you from behind later. Like this. Bam. My goodness, my balls. Hangil says he'll show the protagonist how to truly break someone. Meanwhile, the girl who was being harassed by the three idiots takes advantage of the fact that they're gone and sneaks out with her boyfriend. But then, she hears some noises coming from the bathroom. Curiosity gets the better of her, and she peeks in to find the three stooges stripped to their underwear, with Hangil filming them. He tells them, if you do anything, you won't just get beaten up, got it? This is what's going to happen, you understand? It'll go viral. The protagonist notices the girl peeking and just tells her to leave. This is the punishment these guys deserve. So, she leaves and she's happy. The protagonist hadn't noticed her yet, but when he sees her carrying a beaten-up guy and still wearing her school uniform under her jacket, he realizes she was there because of that useless jerk too. It's not just Neon who's a victim of the guy. So, he gives the delinquent a truly crazy death glare, one that makes his master proud. Revenge complete, my boy. 2 days later, at the pizza place, Hangil is eating like a maniac while Juninho and Neon chat. They ask, and she confirms that the guy hasn't bothered her anymore. At school, he now has the expression of someone who's been utterly destroyed, terrified that a strange video might leak. Meanwhile, the lovebirds chat peacefully, with Hangil as the third wheel. But then the protagonist reveals that on that night, he grabbed the guy's phone to take a look. Inside, there was a school group chat with countless photos of girls being harassed as well. She explains that at school, there are several guys like him. It's like a group of people doing this all over the place. Sooner or later, another guy will take Danga's place, all because of the violence and lack of accountability in this neighborhood. Man, what a messed up school, huh? Hangil then declares that if there are so many jerks like that out there, Juninho's training to become stronger has been decided, beating up those punks everywhere. And the crazy thing is, the girl doesn't even seem to mind or disagree. I think she wanted this all along, didn't she? She probably thought, "This guy likes to fight, so I'll have him fight for me." Not long after, some guys from the group show up, trying to figure out what happened to Danga, asking the girl who was there that night. But they're not asking politely, it's more like, "Hey, you little punk, what a pain, man." It's cool to see that, even after getting beaten up, she doesn't say anything. She refuses to betray the people who saved her. Very admirable of her. But things could have turned bad for her. Could have, but they don't. Hangul shows up just in time. For a moment, I thought he'd be the one to lay hands on those guys. But no, he just tells them he's lost and hungry. The girl who saw him that night is confused, thinking, "What the heck is this guy doing? Is he messing around with the delinquents and asking for help? Oh no, help, who's going to save me now?" And then, Crazy Dog comes in, smacking the delinquent right in the face. Their plan is clear, train the protagonist, using these punks as his punching bags. There are two guys, so the protagonist gets to test his new skills while Hangul holds the other one back. But then Hangul notices that Juninho is already beating up the first guy. He's getting fired up. So, he throws the second guy he was holding into the mix, making it a 2-on-1 fight. I think it's a bit early for him to take on two opponents, but if Hangul thinks it's fine, so be it. One comes in, then the other. It's too much pressure for our protagonist. He starts taking a beating as the two attackers work together. The guys are literally pulling off combos on him. As the protagonist gets overwhelmed, the girl asks if Hangul shouldn't step in to help his friend. He just replies, "No, it's all good. It's part of the plan." The protagonist has to learn how to fight against groups, because these guys always travel in packs of 2, 3, or more. And he's learning on the job what works and what doesn't. For instance, holding on to one guy isn't a good idea when you're fighting a group. That's because while you're wailing on one of them, the others will pummel you, and it's game over. You might get smacked in the ear, or in the protagonist's case, he knocks out the first guy and still manages to get up to face the second one. And the more he gets hit, the crazier he becomes. He grabs a bottle, his face wild with determination. He takes a few steps toward the guy but collapses, taking a nap right there. The guy even thinks, "What? Is he dead? Well, this is my chance then." But he forgot one tiny detail. The real big dog was sitting there watching the fight. Now that his fighter is down, Hangul gives the guy one option. "Leave peacefully, or you're dying here." Obviously, too obvious. The guy leaves. Honestly, I think he got off easy. If you're a background character in this story, take this as a lesson. Stay far away from trouble, because the chances of getting wrecked are sky high. The guy leaves, dragging his friend along. Hangul picks up the unconscious protagonist and takes him away, leaving the girl baffled by what she just witnessed. These guys show up, throw the punk into a fight with the skinny kid, and when the skinny kid gets knocked out, they just pack up and leave, taking him with them. They didn't even ask if I was okay. Seriously? Yes, seriously. Back home, the protagonist gets patched up by the healer. Just slap a band-aid on him, and his health bar fills up completely. I'm not complaining, because if this were realistic, the protagonist would have died the first time he got beat up. So it's fine. Master Hangul says he's improving but still needs to learn how to handle groups. They'll always come in groups, so more training. The next night there are 4 thugs, who look like adults, extorting a nerd at school. And here comes our crazy dog, ready to bite. As soon as the owner points and says, "Get him!" the pit bull charges in, eager for the fight. Actually, it's still a tiny dog, like a pinscher, but it'll do because today is the day to test new techniques. The first one is the hook. Done with proper form, it's deadly. If you land it right on the chin, no one stays standing. So you approach the guys calmly, and bam, right in the mouth. The first one didn't even see it coming and drops. Who would have thought? That kid knocking guys out, man. Another lesson is that if they're in a group, you have to destabilize them and make them think you're too strong to fight. Make them believe they'll lose if they come at you. You can't show fear in front of them. The protagonist lands a hit on the second guy, but this one isn't caught off guard, and it doesn't work. The plan falls apart, and now he's getting beaten by all 3 of them. It's a disaster, but there's a plan for situations like this. Master Hangul, Sensei, what do I do now? Well, if things get to this point, there's a secret, highly elaborate technique for this. It involves preparing yourself and running like crazy. Run, boy. What? He actually runs, but as he's running, we start to understand the real strategy. What's the deal? The goal is to flee and separate the guys so you can pick them off one by one. At the right moment you stop, catch one of them off guard, and bam, down goes the second one. That was easy. Now only 2 are left. He keeps running and running, then stops to try and take down the third guy. Things are going great, but unlike the others, this one knows leg fighting tricks. The protagonist is caught off guard and gets wrecked by the guy, taking hits to the face until the guy finishes him off. Then, the third guy pulls out his phone to text the others, letting them know he's caught the protagonist. And here comes the third lesson. Never turn your back on your opponent, especially if he's a lunatic. The protagonist, who is already well acquainted with bricks, stones, and similar tools, smashes the guy. Why so much violence, dude? When the fourth and final guy catches up, he sees the protagonist holding what's left of the guy who is supposed to be their strongest. The protagonist just motions with his finger. Come on, face the master too, kid. What a demon! He immediately smashes the guy with a rock to scare him off, if he even had any courage left. Honestly, he didn't even need to. The guy was already broken, just seeing his friend on the ground. As for the others who were taken out, the usual move is to run. And I mean run fast, man. And they do, running as hard as they can. Luckily, the protagonist is already tired from the previous fights. But guess who he runs into? Man, Hangil. And calmly, Hangil just asks the guy if the fight is over. Where's the guy who fought him? Speak up, tell me now, no stress. But really, he's just asking. The guy, however, resorts to violence. I'm telling you, side characters never learn. Hangil responds with a punch to the face and goes off to find the protagonist calmly. Man, side characters are just trained to get beaten up, aren't they? The protagonist, Juninho, even though he let one guy escape, gets promoted from cadet to soldier. Folks, I feel like a beast. The guys the protagonist has been wrecking. First, the ones who ended up in their underwear. Then, the 4 from yesterday. They're all part of the gang at Dairen High, led by Hwang Sehyun from the second year and Kim Dongji, also from the second year. These guys are bad news. If you even look at them funny, you get kicked at school. Actually, just looking at them can get you beaten up. And this guy here, if he's a teenager, a high school student, this other one looks like a 40-year-old American soldier to me. But he's just a third-year student. I don't even know anymore. At least call him a teacher or something. The wardrobe guy is in the third year, leader of the school's athletic club, a mountain of muscles, and he knows how to fight too. But as we've learned in this story, the important thing is knowing how to fight dirty. It's crazy, man. This is worse than Veil Tudo. The wardrobe got dismantled. Now these two guys want to find the protagonist, who's ruining their gang's reputation at school. So they're plotting a plan to track him down. The protagonist, Juninho, and Nian didn't have a great time on their last date, so they're giving it another shot. But on the way, the boy sees a scene of someone being bullied. He's on a date, so it's better not to get involved. But he remembers how, in the past, he was bullied, and everything would have been different if someone had helped him. It's true that no one helped him, but he's not like that. He won't ignore it. He tells Nian that he has a stomachache. I need to use the bathroom. But is he really going to poop in the alley? The soldier arrives and takes down the two guys in the blink of an eye. Man, what a beast. He's really coming into his own. But it turns out those two guys weren't delinquents. They were athletes. And the strange-looking guy who was getting beat up, he's the sly leader of the gang. It's a trap, Bino. Now the protagonist has to fight this guy without Hangil around to back him up. But I trust the kid. Or, well, I think I trust him. Actually, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. The fight begins. Man, look at this guy's arms. What a monster. The protagonist can't even trade punches with him. It's impossible. He's not just muscular. His arms are super long, and Juninho can't even reach him. He gets beaten badly but uses some street tactics. Dirt in the face, repositioning, then goes for an E-strike. Maybe break some ribs? No chance. This guy isn't an amateur. Worse yet, he fights dirtier than the protagonist. Right in the crotch. What a nightmare. And in the end, there's no happy ending where the protagonist ends up with the girl. It's a total beatdown. When the stomachache takes too long, Nian gets worried and goes looking for him. She finds him beaten up but mostly lamenting his loss. That's because, so far, even when fighting with Hangil, he's never truly lost. Not outright, anyway. This time, he lost. Completely. In a moment of defeat and sadness, there's nothing better than a swing to sit on. Nian asks if he was fighting the Dairen delinquents, which was supposed to be Hangil's special lesson for him. He says yes, and she points out that her school has improved a lot because of him. But if he keeps going like this, it could end very badly for him. Maybe he should stop this whole fighting thing. And here comes the most striking and interesting moment of this story. I think the author has real-life experience with this, and you'll notice it as the story unfolds. I'm sure of it. The protagonist says he ran away from home, lost everything, and the people who did this to him are still happy, acting as if nothing happened. He explains that he doesn't fight to become stronger just so he won't lose tomorrow. He fights for revenge. He wants those people to pay. Is Juninho secretly an Uchiha? The protagonist goes on to say he won't stop. Nian responds that she doesn't want him to stop either. It's his choice, and honestly, she wants people like Danga to suffer too. She adds that he's frustrated about losing, but one battle doesn't decide who wins the war. So, cheer up. You can always get stronger. In fact, she tells him that if it's him, she knows he'll get stronger because he learns a lot. Man, I think these two are adorable. The girl is tough as nails. It's a perfect match. I'm hyped and emotional. Back at home, the protagonist reports to his family. Yes, family. This group is amazing, unlike anything I've seen before. The protagonist admits he got wrecked, ruined everything, and tarnished the reputation he had been building with Hangul by steamrolling opponents. It's over. The delinquent who beat him took a picture of him in that state and spread it all over the school. Now anyone from the gang who sees him on the streets has orders to beat him up. The protagonist's family responds that if someone messes with one of them, they mess with all of them. This crew impresses me. Toretto taught them well, he'd be proud. Cheers to family. It was a touching moment, but the leader speaks up. Everyone respects this guy. Sure, he's a lowlife, a scumbag, but he's got influence with everyone. He declares that no one from the family will fight. The plan was to train the protagonist with the Dairon guys, and now it'll just be slightly adjusted. Just a bit. Instead of mowing down these guys, the new goal is to conquer the school and become its ruler. To do that, he'll have to take down the infernal duo, in a fight, and do it alone. Wait a minute. I think this time, the protagonist doesn't stand a chance. But the badass says, actually, he has a plan. Just follow the strategy, and even a weakling like Juninho can beat those guys. The guys the protagonist fought 2v1 in the past were there, smoking a cigarette, looking at their phones, seeing that their leader had captured the protagonist. One of the delinquents said that, on that night, if it weren't for the guy with the piercing, they would have defeated the protagonist in that fight. Oh, so let's have a rematch. Look at this mouth, look at it. Come on, you two, come here. Hangul told the protagonist to crush those guys again and challenge their leader now. And look how amazing. Juninho lands a few punches on the guy, and he already admits defeat. I can't fight this lunatic, laughing like that again. Are you crazy? What if he has a brick hidden again? The protagonist asks who their leader is. It's some guy named Ha-Iltak, or something wild like that. But this guy doesn't go to school. Nobody has his contact info. But when he shows up, he commands everyone. Outside of this guy, though, these two here are the top dogs, leading the whole gang. So, the protagonist grabs the guy's contact to schedule a romantic meeting later. How cute are these kids? Then the protagonist texts the guy at night on WhatsApp, sending a picture of the guy he knocked out, inviting him for another duel. Just send some trash in the message, and the guy goes wild, jumps on his green motorcycle, and heads to the spot, furious. But where's Juninho? Of course, the protagonist wouldn't be there, sitting on the ground, while the gym bro tries to play Sherlock Holmes, calling the protagonist to track him down. And he finds him, but it was a trap. Still, it doesn't work out, but alright. This is the biggest challenge the protagonist will face. He's been training with the monster for weeks, training with Gaon, the judo expert too. And mainly if there's no brick, stone, or bottle, just use your phone to hit the thug over the head, man. If it were one of those old Nokia bricks, it'd be perfect. But what can you do? Use what you have at the moment. While the fight goes on, this gang starts missing the thug. The guy whose contact the protagonist grabbed tells them about what happened earlier, that the crazy guy might be in danger because the protagonist is after him. And look at this. All these students have Kawasaki bikes. Expensive bikes, man, that's weird, right? These are adults, 30 years old, and these bums are still in school. Then all the thugs go together, looking for the guy across the city. Meanwhile, the protagonist's fight is intense. Moves I've never seen before. And now, with no advantage, the protagonist is in trouble. The fight is turning bad for him. He takes hits, and using the same moves twice doesn't work. Poor guy, he's screwed. But then comes innovation. A surprise move, thug sterilization. With that, the bug won't leave descendants on Earth. Serves him right. Damn man, that was insane. Hangul, as always, is watching the fight, analyzing Juninho's combat abilities. The guy learns everything he sees. He learns and quickly incorporates it into the fight. A talent. After a leg kick, the thug starts taking a beating, and the gangster wastes time. Time for what, man? The protagonist isn't stupid. He won't fall for that again. So the guy just grabs Juninho's legs. Alright. But why? Here comes the explanation. The guy's coming on a motorcycle, ready to run the protagonist over. My friend, the protagonist realizes instantly that if he takes that hit, he'd die on the spot. Anyone would. So the guy pulls him by his shirt, and saves him at the last second. Now another guy shows up, who seems stronger than the guy in the red shirt, and this dude is ready to fight Hangul, who's supposed to go first. But who said he needs to fight? This fight is the protagonist's, and he's going to fight those guys alone. What? At that moment, I thought, impossible. There's no way the protagonist can take on two guys, two adults, in a fistfight there, barehanded. There's no brick nearby for him to use. What's he going to do? I don't know. We saw in past fights that he has some techniques he learned. Apart from training with Hangul, we don't see much. He learned techniques to separate the guys to fight them one-on-one, use a brick, or catch them by surprise. But that only works when the thug is at least at your level. Now this guy is 40 years old, looks like a fighting monster. What's he going to do? Well, I suggest grabbing a .38, but it seems like in this world, guns don't exist. But then, the protagonist, even without a brick, starts swinging punches, fearless. Good job, kid, but if things were bad before, now they're way worse. The 40-year-old teenager asks how someone like the protagonist managed to hit his friend. Doesn't make sense. Does it? You'll see soon, I guess. Maybe? He asks why the protagonist wants to fight him. Is it because of that group? The one where his gang posts pictures of the girls they harass at school. What a sleazy guy, man. This makes the protagonist even angrier. He tries to land another punch on the delinquent, but this time, it's too weak. The 40-year-old says if he saw the group, he must have liked it. Stop pretending you didn't. Man, how do these guys' minds work to do things like this? Maybe they think this trash is normal. The protagonist can't take it anymore and gets even more furious. He bites the delinquent's hand and refuses to back down. Somehow, he's going to beat these guys, even if it means hurting their fists and feet with his face. Even though the protagonist has learned a lot, the physical strength, weight difference, and the fact that it's 2 against 1 are overwhelming. He doesn't stand a chance. What doesn't stand a chance? He goes for the guy again, dodges, starts running away, but not to escape. It's that classic move. Hesitate, and you get hit. He lands a boxing uppercut like the guy in his underwear. Nice one, kid. The other guy was about to get hit too, but again, the difference in everything, weight, strength, whatever, comes into play. The guy catches a flying kick with his hand. No joke, man. Then the protagonist starts getting beat up again. It's tough, right? But we have to admit one thing, at least in terms of endurance, the protagonist is a beast, an absolute monster. The amount he gets beaten and doesn't die is insane. Even with it being 2 against 1, the guys hold the protagonist so the other doesn't miss his punches, and they start pounding him. And even so, Hangil, watching from above, says he's going to make it. Help me out here. The protagonist then headbutts one of them. Let's see if the other one's Aquaman, huh? He jumps into the water with the guy. Damn, the protagonist goes to the absolute limit to try and win. The guy is stronger, but let's see who has more grit and stamina. 2, especially stamina. The one who took the headbutt gets up with a broken nose. No time to understand what happened. He takes a perfect hit to the chin and falls like trash, unconscious. Holy crap, the protagonist beat both guys in a fight without using a single brick. And if he had used one, no problem, because that's part of a street fight. Then they leave. Hangil says the protagonist can now handle any kind of fight. He just has to try, but he still needs to dominate the school. Otherwise, the guys will keep coming after him. And look at the mess Hangil caused. These guys showed up, and he didn't let them mess up the protagonist's fight. So, there you have it. Everybody died. This guy is unbelievable. Man, after they left, one of the henchmen calls the guy who's in charge of everyone. It doesn't even take 2 minutes. The bastard, the boss of the scumbags, arrives at the scene. And guess what the leader of the bad guys does when his henchmen lose? He beats them up even more. If you get beaten, you'll get beaten again. Ha-Iltak tells them that because they tarnished their reputation, they now have to beat the one responsible for it to death in front of everyone. But this is getting a bit heavy, huh? It really is. The next afternoon, 2 thugs on a motorcycle come after the protagonist with an iron rod. And since he was distracted, luckily Dayab defends the protagonist with his arm. Man, this is going to hurt like hell, my arm. The guys run off, man. Hangil drops some knowledge on the thugs and knocks them off the motorcycle. Idiots, man, riding without helmets. Besides falling, they could have cracked their skulls. Useless fools. Seeing the 2 guys on the ground, Hangil tells the protagonist that just because he beats some of the top dogs doesn't mean they'll stop coming after him. As long as he doesn't completely crush the leader, they won't lose their courage. And that's the price you pay for not finishing a street fight properly. In other words, crushing everyone. If you're going to fight a delinquent, you have to completely destroy the guy because someone who can't walk won't get revenge. Yeah, that makes sense. And with that, the protagonist grabs the phone of the guy they knocked out and calls the leader to schedule a duel too. Just the 2 of them, one-on-one. Now tell us, do you think a guy like this is going to play fair? Do you expect honesty from these lunatics? No. So, of course, it doesn't go any other way. He arrives at the agreed place at night, and all the delinquents are there, armed. Now, who are these extras compared to our squad? Look at that stylish move. The guy spun midair, man. Are you insane? A guy like Hangil, who knows all the tricks, had no doubt that these guys wouldn't respect a duel. So, he already brought his squad along to represent. Then they approach the leader of the delinquents, and they ask, "Is that broomhead going to duel with our guy here, or is he scared? Afraid?" And it worked. Well, let's go. The protagonist is going to fight the gang leader in front of everyone. If there's more pressure than this, I don't know what it is. But then, the fact that the gang leader is someone he knew from the past added even more pressure and anger. Now it's personal. The protagonist had seen this guy beating others to a pulp before, and among the humiliations, one of them was putting out a cigarette on someone's hand. That's just cruel. But afterward, slapping the guy because he didn't cry? That's even worse. Then spitting on him repeatedly because he still hadn't cried. Man, now I want this guy's blood. Juninho, let's go together and take this guy down. Let's go. And even though he's scared, he charges in, but he doesn't land a single hit. He immediately starts taking a beating, and Iltak mocks him, landing kick after kick on the protagonist. Imagine if the protagonist gave the guy a knee to the crotch, huh? The fight would be over. He could do it, but that's not what happens. He almost loses his head with one kick and collapses to the ground. The guy says, "Trash will always be trash, no matter what." Gaon, worried, says he's going to die, but everyone there trusts, or has to trust, the boy. Let's just watch for real. Dayub trusts him because he saw him every single day. He never skipped training. No matter the challenge, he was there. They didn't show us this, but the protagonist does this every day, and if they interfered now, he'd never overcome his fear. The protagonist leaps at the guy, takes a hit to the ribs, but throws him to the ground. The first strike is to the face, man, and the guy is completely lost. How is this scared failure from last week doing this? A foot to the chest, the guy charges again, and the protagonist grabs him and slams him to the ground again, already starting to punch. The people watching start to doubt, as the protagonist keeps landing blows. Is this the face of someone scared? No, not at all. On one of those training days, Dayub told the protagonist that he didn't have to feel obligated to fight. He could just live peacefully with everyone. But why, man? Peace is never an option. Are you crazy? But pay attention to this. Juninho reveals that during the day with the group, he can even forget the past. But when night comes, it all floods back into his mind. Every night, he has nightmares about the guys and everything they did to him. That's why he'll do anything to win. A headbutt, again, and again, and again, to the thug. Yeah, and man, it must hurt like hell to take a headbutt like that, with your skull hitting the asphalt. The impact doesn't dissipate at all, and the guy, who seemed defeated, grabs the protagonist in a lock. The group gets worried. The thug could tear his arm off. Seriously, dude? It didn't look like that to me. Both of them know it's dangerous, but interfering would mean the protagonist lost, and that can happen. When the guy tightens the lock, the protagonist pulls off a sinister reversal and breaks free. Damn, you should have said you taught him that. I was already worried here. Me? I never taught him that, no way. I don't even know that move. The protagonist doesn't stop. He climbs on top of the guy and keeps landing punches. The delinquents goons step in to disrupt the fight. It's not even a fight anymore, it's a massacre. But now, let's see which group is stronger, if it's about stepping in to help. Those guys jumped in because they thought Iltak was going to lose. Then he kicks the guys himself, and says they shouldn't interfere. You're crazy if you really thought I was going to lose to a guy like this. No. I already think, go for it, Juninho, I trust you. Go. So the guys stop to watch, and our crew stops too. Then the broomhead, who loves to kick, starts again. Punch after punch, the guy hitting and shouting. Why are you trying to humiliate yourself? Trying to beat me, man? Take that. Trying? No, take that. Punch after punch, the delinquent keeps getting hit, and every time he glances to the side to see his crew. If they doubt him, they won't follow or obey him anymore. And then fear strikes, just like the protagonist. The two start fighting, exchanging blows. Take asks, since when does Juninho know how to fight like this? Hangil, what did you do? I only taught him how to punch and use his feet. The rest, this mess over there, he either learned on his own or made it up. I didn't teach him that. Here we go. The protagonist knocks a few teeth out of Broomhead. The thug charges again. The protagonist takes a step, dodges, and lands a forehead strike, followed by a 1-2-3 combo. After taking so many hits to the head, Broomhead takes an uppercut that, if it were me, would have killed me on the spot. Broomhead is eliminated. The protagonist's hands are shaking as much as he punched, and they should probably be broken too. And the guys who saw their leader lose still say they have a chance because they outnumber him. But when they see Hangil there, they admit, yeah, no, we can't. Hangil seizes the moment to say, yeah, it really won't work, but it's because of this mad dog here. You should be scared of this guy. Go on, put fear in them now. Go. And you idiots, who's brave enough to face the boss? Come on. But I'm warning you now. If you do, I guarantee you'll lose 3 or 4 teeth. Got it. Run. It's the devil. He may have taken a lot of hits to get here, but now this is the new protagonist, the extra exterminator of the tough ones. He went from weakling to beater, all thanks to vengeance. Very bold, but now he's also started playing League of Legends. So, I don't know anymore. I support vengeance, but only when it has a noble purpose, a good cause. Right. No, We all know the protagonist's goal is to destroy all the guys who tormented him and to become strong enough never to be beaten like that again. The protagonist beat all the leaders, the school's gang of thugs who targeted the girl he likes. After that, the guys calmed down, and the girls the thugs blackmailed started reporting them to the school. Voila, a bunch got expelled, others sent to juvenile detention, and that Ha-Iltak disappeared from the scene, never returning to school after that day. The girl the protagonist likes is chilling at the pizzeria now, with no one bothering her at school anymore. Look at that, how beautiful. This nonsense even looks like a soap opera ending. Does the manhwa end now? Let me check if there are more chapters. There are plenty. There's even a celebration with the protagonist's crew because now there are 6 fighters in the house. And there are 6 because this girl here can fight like crazy, man. She doesn't need anyone defending her. In fact, it's the guys who need protection around her. That's true. So, it feels like a happy ending. But something's off with Juninho. The boss asks what's wrong with him. He should be happier than ever now. I think so too. The protagonist says it's true. Punching those guys in the face felt great. But on the other hand, he'll never get his family back, his lost life, his school days, and all of that feels so unfair to him. So, Juninho, protagonist, revenge isn't about getting anything back. There's that saying that revenge won't bring back what you lost. But that's for those who don't understand the true purpose of vengeance. Hangul himself says. The point is to destroy those who screwed you over and left you in the gutter. Now, whether that makes you feel better is up to you. He leaves that thought for him but tells him to relax. He hasn't even completed his revenge yet. He can think about that later, about how unfair life is, while stepping on the heads of those whose teeth he needs to knock out. While the protagonist laments not being able to recover his family and school life, Dayob is there, like a curious guy, just eavesdropping on their talk. Now, could it be? Why? Here's the thing. The next day, before the protagonist leaves for work, the guy calls the pizzeria to say he won't be working today. How come? Relax, trust me. The guy gathered his whole squad at home, and early in the morning, they went for a walk. At 7 a.m., they hit the internet cafe to play League of Legends. What are you doing? Later, they went bowling, then even karaoke. After that, the protagonist went out to buy snacks for everyone, and look at that smile on his face. When was the last time he looked this happy in the entire manga? Then it hits him. He's never had a moment like this with his family at home. Now, living with this group, there's no bad time. If he went back to his old life, would it be this good? Would it be better? Look, protagonist, I don't think so, but I could be right. Or very right. Who knows, right? And what better time for the guy's father to show up than when he's questioning these things? At that moment, the protagonist remembers he was always afraid of his father because all he ever did was demand perfect grades. And if they weren't 10s, he'd get beaten. Over time, his father started asking why he was so different from his older brother, and began ignoring his own son at home. And the feeling he had at home was this: he was excluded by his own family because he didn't have good grades. After kicking him out of the house with nothing but the clothes on his back, the first thing his father doesn't say, but does, is slap him across the face. He calls the protagonist a good-for-nothing, a bum who's been wandering aimlessly since he left home. He blames him for ruining the family's reputation in the neighborhood because now everyone thinks the family has a delinquent son. After saying all that, he orders the protagonist to come back home. And for what? Just for the sake of the neighbor's opinion. At that moment, the protagonist says his father was never a real father to him. His father slaps him again, saying if he thinks he can talk like that just because he left home, he's mistaken. And the protagonist doesn't react. I was already getting mad at this guy. But then, Hangul steps in and grabs the old man, firmly. The father calls Hangul a delinquent, and tells him to let go. Oh man. Then Hangul just says this: "That's right, I'm what you said, a delinquent. But if you touch this boy again, I won't let it slide. So, you'd better disappear from here, sir." In that situation, the father turns to the protagonist, and says this is his last chance. He must choose: stay with this delinquent, or return home. Juninho says he never needed a family like his, but he's crying because he never really had the chance to return to his family. And the guy leaves. The protagonist was sad, but Hangul slaps him on the forehead and asks if he hasn't learned by now. Didn't you watch Fast and Furious? Family isn't blood ties. It's the people you want to keep around you. And look at this group here, man, how awesome. I know. Go ahead and wipe that sweat off your eyes, I get it. Juninho the killer, at the start of his career, was just some guy who didn't stand up for himself, suffered provocations, and got worse every day. And one day, after so much provocation, the protagonist sees the perfect chance. But hold on, in self-defense, he throws the guy in front of a truck. He did it to avoid getting killed. To not die, remember that. No, keep that in mind. So this guy who slapped him around every day, almost beat him to death, ended up like this, in a coma for months. Was it fair? Deserved or not? Tell us. because I don't know anything. But the thing is, that useless guy, stuck in a coma, eternally dreaming, wakes up. The useless one remembers everything, even the day he kissed the truck. Fine, then some time passes. The guy gets out of the hospital and goes to see his old school friends. When the guys tell him everything's changed, that they got beaten by Juninho and the group fell apart, the delinquent gets furious with them. Look at this, man. The guy just got out and is already acting cocky. One of them tries to brush him off, and the useless guy falls to the ground. Dude, seriously. He may have left the hospital, but he's still messed up. You don't get hit by a truck and come out 100%. It's true. The guys say he's got injuries. His legs are messed up, and that makes him even angrier. The only thing he wants now is to find Juninho for revenge. Well, thinking about it, if he were the same as before, he'd still lose. Imagine now. You're going to die. He asks the guys and quickly finds out where the protagonist works. And the best part was seeing him not believe that the protagonist defeated the whole school and Iltak as well. To be honest, even I, who saw it all, don't quite believe it either. While the guy keeps following from a distance, the protagonist comes across some guys doing bad things. But their real mistake was trying to mess with Hangil. They even tried to hit him. Don't get ahead of yourself like that. That's how you lose your teeth. The protagonist takes on a few of them too. Kicks, punches, back and forth. The delinquent watching can't believe what he's seeing. When the guys getting beaten stop to think for a moment, they realize this is Cho Hangil, a monster. They start running away, which is exactly what they should do. Nobody is going to face this guy. Nian doesn't even think it's strange that the protagonist and his crew are always fighting everywhere. They help an old man. The man says those delinquents were after him, and someone must have set this up against him. Then, Hangil immediately thinks, this way of acting, they must be coming back. At that moment, I think, it must be Negan's crew, the burned guy. Alright, now Lee Doyen, who saw the protagonist in action, admits, Juninho got really strong. He might have actually beaten Ha Iltak. When reality hits him, he realizes he's shaking with fear of the protagonist. To make things even better, two random guys show up to pick on him. Lee Doyen asks who these guys are. They say, without hesitation, that they're delinquents and want his money. Hand it over, loser. The guy, who used to terrorize everyone, the big shot, is now getting slapped around. He knows he's weaker now, but not to this point, so he decides to fight them. The guy ends up on the ground, getting stomped on and kicked from all sides. After beating him up, the guys even make him eat ice cream that fell on the ground. Either he eats it, or they'll beat him up more. What a sight. It seems like the phrase, what goes around comes around, is more real than the dollar. With this crew doing exactly what he used to do to the protagonist, he starts thinking about the protagonist, and what he went through. Is he reflecting on his mistakes? No, I don't want that. Hopefully not. Out of nowhere, one of the guys falls unconscious to the ground. The other stands up to see what's going on and gets hit so hard, man, that from the way he's falling, he could go into a coma when his head hits the ground. And guess what? The one who smashed these guys is the protagonist. He shows up saying there's been a lot of these guys around lately. Can you believe it, man? The guy just got humiliated the same way he used to humiliate the protagonist, and now the protagonist comes to save him from further humiliation. Is this his redemption arc? Are you out of your mind? In the past, he was chubby, and people used to mock him for it. Fine. Then one day, he fought back, beat up the guys who bullied him, and overcame it all. Good. But from then on, the bullied guy became the bully, and today he's back to being bullied again. This is a big life lesson for us. If you're a chubby kid and people mock you, fight back and show them you're strong, man. Were you expecting an actual life lesson? No, there isn't one. The protagonist offers to help the guy. Afraid the protagonist will figure out who he is, he tries to leave without showing his face. The protagonist says he must be hurt, since he's limping, and offers to help him. The guy doesn't respond and keeps walking straight ahead. Then, it starts raining out of nowhere. It's like a sign. If it starts raining, it means there's going to be drama. It reminded me right away of the day the protagonist was kicked out of his house. He stepped onto the street, and it started raining out of nowhere. Then he cried and everything. There always has to be rain for drama. So Lee Doyen, the failure, limps off in the rain. I was expecting the scene of him, defeated in the rain, but the protagonist goes after him again and asks if he doesn't want the old umbrella. How kind is this protagonist, man? The guy feels humiliated. He says, please, just leave. At that moment, the protagonist recognizes him by his voice, which he will never forget. Pay attention to the protagonist's refined look at this moment. I'm going to kill you, man. Is the protagonist going to put this guy in a coma again? No. The protagonist says that because of the rain, or maybe because people are waiting for him, he didn't do anything there. But he wanted to, and he leaves the guy there. Lee Doyen is now truly facing his moment of defeat, standing in the rain. The guy can barely walk anymore. His life is now destined to be one of a loser, A miserable existence. Does he still deserve it, folks? In this situation, he says, "Man, I'm going to jump off here, right? If I hadn't woken up, it never would have been better." He throws his sandal to check how high it is. He's ready to go through with it, but then his phone rings. It's Ha-Il-tak calling to say he heard Lee Doyen woke up and that he's already gone after the protagonist. "What the hell did you do, huh?" The guy throws it in his face, and Ha-Il-tak says he looks like a wreck and that, the way Juninho is now, Doyen wouldn't stand a chance, not even in 1,000 years. Ha-Il-tak also mentions that after leaving school, he joined a real gang called Haegwang. "Ah, kid, I knew it! That's the gang with Negan, the barbecue guy." Ha-Il-tak explains that these guys he joined are hardcore and that instead of being a loser forever because of the protagonist, he could pay for his revenge. Without a purpose in life and to avoid dying, Lee Doyen decides that killing the protagonist, the one responsible for his condition, is his new goal. And now, the cycle is complete. To avoid dying, the protagonist had to fight back against the thugs. And now, to avoid dying, the idiot will live for revenge against the guy who got revenge on him. Who's wrong? And who's really wrong in this story? Now, are we heading toward that scene from the start of the manhwa? Leave your strongest like to help us out. So, let's go for another quick recap after the protagonist's overcoming moment. He's now an incredible guy. The Hangul family officially recognizes Juninho as a good-for-a-fight member of the family. Let's give a round of applause for the pro. There's even a graduation ceremony where the protagonist receives the team jacket. Take even gets emotional, remembering his own graduation. What kind of trip is this, man? Now that the protagonist is badass, all that's left is for him to return to his school and wreck everything. Take revenge on those who deserve it. Tataki, fight them! Now he has family and friends. All that's missing is revenge. After all, isn't that all a normal person needs? That's a lie. And the guy the protagonist hates the most, Lee Doyen, woke up from his coma and is teaming up with Ha-Il-tak to get revenge on the protagonist. I see trouble coming big time. Hangul even warns his team. "Man, Haegwang is back. You guys need to stay sharp." The protagonist heads to work, all calm. When he gets there, he sees the old man with an injured arm, looking sad. Juninho immediately thinks it's the guys who came back, but his father-in-law says he just fell on the way home and was too embarrassed to show anyone. But still, I don't know, it seems suspicious to me. So, since it's nothing, the protagonist goes into change for the workday. What the heck is this here, man? I don't know. Oh, are you saying the guy can't even put on an apron by himself? Look at the horns coming. Juninho, open your eyes. The new guy quickly greets the protagonist. He's the new assistant now that the boss is more injured, and the protagonist has to train him for the job. So, the protagonist starts training the guy. Juninho even teases him when he does well in front of the new recruit. "Just don't lose the girl, alright, kid?" During the shift, the newbie asks for a break to smoke and invites the protagonist too. "Don't smoke, my friend." The protagonist only goes to look cool. He even holds the cigarette but doesn't light it. The guy starts talking about how cool and laid back the protagonist is and that he needs to get better at the job because he needs money fast. "Look, man, this kid's messing with drugs, isn't he?" The guy says he needs money to move out of his house. At that moment, the protagonist, with his vast experience in this, gives the kids some good advice. "It's not that you shouldn't move out, but you shouldn't give up everything for nothing either. Analyze first, then calmly assess the situation, man. When in doubt, don't leave." Look at Juninho, man, being responsible. Quickly, the kid gets good at the job, just as good, or even better than poor Juninho, man. The guy washes dishes, serves tables, and makes all the girls at the place blush over him. "What's going on, Juninho? Where's your shine, man?" The protagonist, seeing the kid succeed in everything, gets jealous and suddenly runs off, saying he's going to smoke. Don't smoke. After 30 chapters building his reputation, look how he throws it down the drain. Suspicious. While he's outside sulking, out of nowhere, the delinquent shows up asking the protagonist for help. He needs to hide because he's in danger. "Help me out, man! What's this all about?" 3 crazy guys are after him. The protagonist hides him in the alley nearby, and apparently, now that the danger has passed, the protagonist asks why those guys are after him. The guy explains there's a world that normal people, like the protagonist, don't know about. He tells Juninho that if he tells people he knows him, no one will mess with him because he's part of a very famous organization. The protagonist immediately gets nervous. Could this guy be from Haegwang? But the guy says he's from the Hangul family. What? That made no sense. The guy starts bragging about being part of the family, telling the protagonist how strong they are. Look at the protagonist's face listening to all this. So the protagonist asks, "Then who's after you?" The guy says it's Haegwang. Then, like some summoning jutsu, the guys appear behind him out of nowhere and immediately get to work, beating the crap out of him in front of the protagonist. If I were Juninho, I'd let them finish and just walk away. What a nerve on this guy. But then one of them asks Juninho if he knows the guy who's getting beaten up. Juninho replies by asking if the guy knows his fist, before smashing it right into his face. Pleasure to meet you. While the bold guy watches the protagonist in awe, the delinquent recognizes him from the factory incident. They say, "Relax, man, the family isn't that strong anyway. Really, it's just Hangil who's the beast." "Oh yeah? Then take this punch straight to the mouth to stop talking nonsense." Bam! He's done! Juninho then takes on the other two by himself. The guys come at him, and it's nothing but intense punches and kicks flying everywhere. The poser, who pretended to be part of the family, sees the monster in action and tries to run off, knowing that if the kid gets mad at him for pretending, it's going to end badly. Trying to run will only make it worse. The protagonist tells him it's not true that he's with Hangil. So, if he doesn't spill the truth now, it'll cost him dearly. "Are you messing with me?" Faced with this subtle threat, the guy confesses that he's with Haegwang too. There's no time to react before the protagonist grabs him by the neck, ready to crush him as well. But the guy screams that he's not part of it anymore. "Help! Let me go!" He explains that the gang betrayed him. He says that after they were expelled from the neighborhood by Hangil, they started committing really serious crimes. And then we remember Broomhead, who joined this group, huh? The guy says it's all because of that old man, the one who was being robbed earlier. He's the neighborhood representative, and the guy's father. The delinquent shares that he didn't want to study and fought with his father constantly. Because of this, he ran away from home and joined a gang to seem cool. But when he saw what the gang really did, he changed his mind. And on that very day, they got an order to rob his father. The gang was planning to use the delinquent as bait to lure his father in. Honestly, serves him right. He deserves to suffer. Meanwhile, we see the protagonist teaching the new helper at the pizzeria where he works. He also encountered a delinquent who claimed to have run away from home, saying he used to be part of Haegwang, but is now on the run from them too. Juninho has the two guys sit down to talk about running away from home. The guy in the cap says it's a trap. "You'll get into trouble. It's not cool unless you join Haegwang. Then it's fine." Hearing this, the protagonist snaps. "You idiot! The gang is after you, trying to kill you, and you're saying something like that, you moron." In this situation, Bullhead tells us his story, and it's the usual. Mom died, family was sad, dad remarried, family got happy again, stepmom had a new son, someone else's kid, and that kid wasn't happy. But the whole family was happy, except for the other kid. Wow, stepmom, why is that? So yeah, the guy wants to leave home because of this. We can all agree it's a tense situation, but the protagonist tells him, "Your dad cares about you, so try to work things out with your stepmom and make it better later. Go up to your dad and say, 'Your wife is crazy, hitting me like that. I'm about to hit her back.'" "Oh, now it's good, huh?" The guys then have a chat, and it even seems like they've become friends. The protagonist says they're good people and all, but as soon as he leaves, that's when we see the truth. Man, these guys are there under orders from Haegwang's crew. They're there to investigate the Hangils through Juninho. The Hangils? The Hongo family, get it? No? Back at home, the protagonist tells his group about the guy in the cap who ran away from home, saying he wants to help him and all that. Man, just like the two traders said over the phone, Juninho is too naive, dude. Dayob even asks if he thinks they're superheroes fighting crime. Gaeong says the street crews are really dangerous. She herself almost ended up in a brothel and only escaped by luck. It's not that simple. Then, the guy who understands the streets best, Hangil, speaks. He says the protagonist can't trust anyone besides them, and no one else. Nobody, man. After this innocent chat from Juninho, you know it's true. But the next day, there he is, involved with the two guys. We already know they're traitors, but to this poor guy, he thinks he's helping them. Innocent. Man, I'm losing my mind reading this. They're supposedly there because this old man ordered them to go after the father of the guy in the cap. They're there to pressure the man into withdrawing the complaint against the boy's dad. Then, the old man enters the bar, and minors aren't allowed inside. The minors get in with fake IDs from Catboy, but nothing happens. Later, the old man goes to the infamous pleasure house. Minors aren't allowed there either. Minors really aren't allowed in. You thought they'd get in, didn't you? The old yacht guy goes straight in, buys drinks for all the girls, downs Blue Label whiskey, and slaps women whenever he feels like it. Look at this guy's life, luxury and extravagance. And then you wonder, who is this guy? He's simply a representative of the neighborhood association. And this is how he lives. Let me tell you, man. The guy slaps a girl because she didn't want to drink for him. How far have we come for this to happen, man? This yacht old man isn't even a real yacht guy. He doesn't know how to use his resources. Oh, how delightful. He kicks all the women out of the place because of that. Try to understand the stupidity of this guy. It's incredible. Now, with the place cleared out, the boys head over to talk to the old man. Catboy tells the fake yacht guy straight up that he knows he made the request to Haegwang to go after his father. He says that if he doesn't cancel the request, he'll cancel his ID for good. We know these kids are traitors, and they're playing games with the protagonist. When the bouncers from the pleasure club show up to restore order, the kids freak out. Man, I was rooting for these kids to get the beating of a lifetime. Me too. But before that can happen, the only decent fighter steps in to defend the boys, saying he'll handle it. The protagonist decides to fight the bouncers. Why, man? You're the ones in the wrong here. Get out of this place and leave. True. One of the bar employees, seeing the boss furious, starts to remember. He's only worked there for a month, but even in that short time, he knows they forced the girls to work there to pay off their parents' debts and other stuff. He also hates minors. Every time some sneaky kids show up, he beats them down with pleasure. And today, one of those minors fought back and punched him right in the mouth. So now, it's a full-blown fight. Juninho starts throwing punches at the guys but also gets hit. When the boss himself steps in, he gets caught too. These guys are bar bouncers. They're supposed to know how to fight. The boss hates minors and was clearly intending to do some serious damage. No, wait a second. Was he really about to do that? Man, this situation spirals out of control so fast. Before things go south, one of the younger guys throws a bottle at the man's hand, punches him in the forehead, and says he'll help. When we see him from the front, the guy is scared, but man, what he just did, only an idiot would think this kid doesn't know how to fight. And who's the idiot? The protagonist, of course. Now the boys want to help, so it's about to be a 3-on-3 fight, nice and calm. But the protagonist doesn't want to put them in danger, so he sets it up so they're at least 2-on-1 against one guy. While he goes 1-on-1 and even 1-on-2, then chaos breaks loose. The protagonist is up against 2 adults, all because they underestimated him. Juninho manages to land a hit on one guy's jaw and knocks him out cold. After that, the head of the security guard steps in to fight the protagonist. And fighting an adult is different. It's not easy to hit the jaw because he blocks it. Go for the groin? Also blocked. But then, when the guy comes at him full force, the protagonist remembers the weak point he learned from the best. It doesn't matter who you are. If you get hit in the liver, you drop in agony instantly. And just as expected, the protagonist lands a clean shot right on the guy's liver, hitting him where it hurts most. The head of security collapses, no matter who he is, down for the count. The protagonist finishes his fight. But what about the 2 boys who were in the 2-on-1? Well, as expected, things didn't go well. Actually, they went way worse than anyone could have imagined. One of the boys ended up with a new hump on his back. What? What's that? Is there something wrong with my back? Well, depends. Does a bottle lodge there seem strange to you? So, folks, here's another quick recap. Juninho, great at fighting but dumb as a brick. Look where this airhead ended up, fighting in a nightclub for a guy he's known for a day and a half. And now this happens. I've never seen anyone this dumb, man. Never. Now it's done. The guy with the cap takes his friend to the hospital while the protagonist stays behind to deal with the boat uncle. Shouldn't someone put the bottle cap back on the guy's back to stop it from spilling? What a mess. Juninho then goes to finish things with the old man from the boat. He grabs him by the collar and says if he talks now, he'll just get beaten like this. But if he doesn't talk soon, it'll get much worse. What's the option where I don't get beaten at all? None. Given the circumstances, the boat uncle spills everything. He says he's also a neighborhood representative, and the father of that kid, another representative, found out he was embezzling money. So, he just hired thugs to kill him. Nothing major. Does the police not exist in this world? After grilling the boat uncle, Juninho goes to visit the boy at the hospital. To our surprise, the guy didn't die. He won't have any lasting injuries. He just needs a few days in the hospital. Juninho says, "Thanks, man, but why did you do that? That was really dangerous. It's not worth risking yourself for me. Why'd you do that, man? I don't even know. It's like the script made me." You nailed it, buddy. Now that the guy is hospitalized, Juninho and the guy with the cap say they'll handle the situation on their own and tell him to rest. Then they leave. Outside the hospital, Juninho tells the guy with the cap that he interrogated the man, who confessed everything. The old man said he was embezzling money. The boy's father found out, and so he paid people to take down the father. Juninho also mentions he got evidence of the embezzlement from the old man's phone as a precaution. Now he's going to force the guy to cancel the hit on his father, but they'll have to go in person to make sure it's done right. Man, I can't believe how naive Juninho is. He's getting himself involved in such dangerous business for a guy he's known for a day and a half. Though now it's almost 2 days. Still, while Juninho is talking to the guy in the cap, Hangul is off in the distance, watching Juninho's suspicious activity, wondering, what's this idiot up to now? Man, look at Juninho's luck. If Hangul hadn't caught on to this shady activity, the protagonist would definitely die by the end of this arc guaranteed. It's true. To give us an idea of the danger, one of Haegwang's men, who the delinquent here calls an officer, goes to the club to check on what Juninho and his group did. The guy in the suit, speaking on the phone, says everyone is fine, just knocked out. They don't even have any fatal wounds. Then the man on the phone says this group is too soft. How could they leave people like that alive after this? Man, how does Juninho accept getting involved with people who think it's normal to kill others? He's so naive. Pay attention. The leader of Haegwang is out in the forest, in the middle of nowhere, digging a hole. What do you think that hole is for? Out in the middle of the forest. Tell us. And what makes me even angrier is that, on the same night, Juninho, the guy in the cap, and the old yacht guy, are climbing the mountain to speak with Haegwang to cancel some rollover order. And with the cap guys acting, it even seems like his father is really in danger. Now, I'm unsure. Is his father actually in danger, or is he being extorted by Haegwang to do what he's doing? Is he not guilty? Complicated. It's unclear. Finally, they arrive at Haegwang's camp, and the old man goes alone to talk to the leader to cancel the rollover order. The old man genuinely intends to resolve it. He says he requested a meeting with the leader to talk about the order he placed. The delinquents tell him to wait because the leader is busy. He's working in the forest. Meanwhile, Juninho and the cap guy are there, scared and on edge. Take a good look. Juninho, for a moment, counts the people at the camp and says that if necessary, he could fight them all. But when Haegwang's leader arrives, just looking at the guy makes him immediately change his mind. Juninho says he looks like a giant, hostile monster, and that he was out there digging a hole in the woods. What do you think this guy represents? He looks like a demon. I'll tell you what he represents. While the old yacht guy meets with him and asks to cancel the order, the leader replies, "First, there's no canceling any extortion orders. Third, everyone who knows about your embezzlement will be eliminated, and you'll give me half of your stolen money every month. And fourth, oh sir, after the first comes the second. Oh, I forgot. I'm a gangster. I can't count properly. The second is that your little group hiding out here is completely screwed. We know you're here." It turns out the lunatic went out to the woods to help someone, but it was all a setup. The group ambushed him there and now has him cornered in the middle of the forest. What could happen? Among the possibilities, getting beaten up is the mildest. They immediately try to hit him with a metal bat. He shields the cap guy but takes a hit himself. Now, can someone explain this? The protagonist grabs a rock from the ground, throws it at a motorcycle, and knocks the riders off. What kind of strength does this guy have to pull that off? Look at that rock. He took down one guy with a single throw. Then he grabs a metal bar from one of the others, shoves it into another bike's tire, and wrecks the motorcycle. And he also lands a kick straight to a guy's mouth. But who cares about the guy? Poor bike. What a shame for the motorcycles. Man, imagine us on one of those Suzukis, dude. My goodness. The protagonist isn't weak at all. He defeated everyone on the 3 motorcycles. But when he heads toward the old man, another guy throws a shovel in his path. It's Haegwang's executive. This is the final boss. There's no way. The protagonist doesn't even think about doing anything. Haegwang's man is even humble about it. He says the protagonist is very strong, as his soldiers couldn't handle him, so he'll deal with him personally. At this point, Juninho wonders if this guy is as strong as that lunatic Negan. Man, this guy killed Negan. When he comes in with a punch, Juninho blocks it with his arm, gets thrown into a tree, and realizes his arm is either broken or at least seems like it is. It broke, and if one punch did that to the protagonist's arm, when the guy goes for the final blow to Juninho's head, man, if it had hit, he'd be dead. But when the protagonist dodges, it hits his leg instead, breaking it, or at least it looks like it broke. It's broken. No, man, in just 2 hits, the guy completely defeated Juninho. He says he remembers every day what they did to his subordinate's face, and that he's going to do the same to the protagonist as revenge. As expected, at that moment, Juninho realized, it's over, there's nothing he can do. But then he remembers Nian and all the things this guy might do to her. That gives him courage. He shoves his hand into the fire, and throws it in the delinquent's face. And with that, it's more than proven. As the philosopher Python once said, everything in life you do with the intent to go all out. You get it now. The protagonist stuck his hand in the coal, burned it completely, grabbed the guy's shovel, and went to attack him. But here's the thing, man. No matter how strong you are as the protagonist, the guy caught the shovel in his hand like he was holding a spoon. And man, Juninho fried his hand entirely. The delinquent breaks the shovel, punches Juninho in the mouth, throws him to the ground, and says that no matter what he does, tonight he's going to die. But then the guy decides to give him an option. He says Juninho can join Haegwang and avoid dying here today. Of course, the protagonist might lie, so he'll have to pass a test if he wants to accept. The test is, not to kill someone, but to bury them alive. Kill? No. What's this, people? You need to understand that in this manga, nobody kills anyone. Burying people alive? Sure, but the rest is up to nature. Nobody technically killed anyone here. And the person to be buried alive is the same guy who almost killed them back at the bar. So, Juninho even has some reason to accept. But Juninho refuses. He says that no matter what, he'll never stoop to the level of cowards like them. Well, not cowards, really, because these guys have guts. True. Either way, he refuses to be like them. He says he'd rather fight to the end. And now's the time for his protagonist moment. Let's go. Or not. Nope, this wasn't the moment, and it doesn't seem like it ever will be. Help, man. They were literally burying the protagonist alive. Like, seriously. Alright, I can't take it anymore. Get him out of there. And he's gone. At that moment, Juninho starts reflecting on his life and how much he misses the family he built. He just wanted more time with them, but it's all going to end now. Nope, not at all. Back at the start, when Hangul saw the protagonist walking with the guy in the cap, you just knew he'd show up. And this is the perfect situation for him to appear, right at the protagonist's last chance. So, just as the guy falls into the grave, suddenly you see those boots. And suddenly, there's Hangul, asking, "Hey Juninho, did you miss me?" I don't know about Juninho, but I missed this guy, man. He's incredible. And notice the subtlety. Just like Juninho tried to hit the guy with a shovel and he caught it like it was nothing, when more guys show up and try to hit Hangul with an iron bar, he catches it like it's nothing too. He even mocks the guy, asking if he knows what a shoe tastes like, before kicking him in the face. Man, Hangul is the best. Look at the face of this demon when he goes at the guys. It's kicks to the mouth, punches to the mouth. The last guy, when he realizes who Hangul is, takes a kick so hard he probably lost his jaw. Hangul wrecked everyone without even breaking a sweat. I feel powerful. Juninho, it was so close. Your story was almost over. When Hangul saves Juninho, the guy in the cap sees him and reacts like a fangirl. Oh my god, it's Hangul! And when Juninho asks him how he found him, Juninho proves once again how clueless he is. We, being smarter, already know, right? Hangul explains that he saw Juninho that day, walking with the suspicious guy. Then he followed him, saw him heading into the forest, ran into a Haegwang henchman, and realized it was trouble. He knew that if he didn't show up, Juninho would have been done for. Juninho then asks Hangul if he saw the Haegwang executive, the old man with the yacht. He says he didn't see anyone else besides the henchman. Juninho grabs the guy by the neck with authority and asks, "Where are the others?" Obviously, the guy left by car and took our client with them. So that's it. Everything was calm, but when the guy mentions the name of the executive Bay Gang hack, Hangul gets nervous. If Hangul got nervous, it's because the situation is truly serious. Hangul not only becomes alert but also points at the guy and says he'll tell his boss that Juninho was indeed buried alive and the story ends here. And yes, the guy says he can't lie to his boss, because if his boss finds out, he'll definitely die. Hangul then says, "Oh, you're scared of your boss? Wait a second." He throws the guy into the hole and says, "Man, you don't know what real danger is here. If you don't do this and risk dying later, you'll die now, buried alive. What's your choice?" Look, the kid with the cap watching how Hangul operates. Seriously, who doesn't idolize a guy like this? Amazing. We saw that the kid was buried alive, but by sheer luck or plot armor, he was saved by Hangul at the last moment. So guys, we realized it was pure luck that Hangul noticed Juninho's strange movements, and went after him to save him, but there will come a time when that won't happen. He'll be eliminated for good. That's why Hangul decides to pass on some strategies to him once and for all. He calls him aside to lay down the truth. "Leonidas, you need to stop getting into these messes, man. I can't keep going, bro. I just got engaged." He says he's done dealing with these people, and that's final. It's their problem, and they can handle it on their own. Juninho says he wants to help the guy because, in the past, he also had problems, and if it weren't for Hangul helping him, who knows where he'd be now. And yeah, we have to agree, he's not wrong. But then Hangul says, "You're not him, are you? So it doesn't matter. He'll handle it, and we'll mind our business." But we already know the protagonist has a soft heart. He says he'll help anyway. So Hangul simply says, "Then handle it yourself because I'm not getting involved in this anymore." Think about it. The protagonist wants to get involved with people who literally kill others. Hangul, his strongest ally, says, "Guys, don't mess with these people. If Juninho wants to move forward, he needs to understand the chances of him dying are 101%. And what's worse, he'll involve his family in this." So Juninho starts thinking about the well-being of his family. And then we see this useless guy, who I still don't know if he's a traitor or not. I thought he was, but it seems like he isn't, though sometimes it feels like he is. Speaking of who's the traitor or not, Juninho starts thinking about how the guys already knew they were there. At that moment, he gets a call from the guy who went to the hospital, the one we're sure is the traitor. But I'm in doubt. Is he really a traitor? Because he took a bottle to the back to protect Juninho. Was it just a coincidence or not? I don't know, damn it, it's so complicated. But the story wants us to believe he is. So let's go with that for now and hate the guy. "You son of a..." The guy calls and says he heard from the guy with the cap that they were attacked, and almost died. So why did this jerk call me if the guy already told him? Why did he call me? To interrogate me? To check if it was true? Ah, damn it. But then, in the middle of the conversation, Take shows up on the terrace and says he wants to talk to Juninho. Juninho whispers on the phone that he'll meet him later and asks what Take wants. Man, Juninho, stop getting involved with these losers. And look, Take asks Juninho who he was talking to, and he says it was just a co-worker. Then Take says, "Oh, is that so?" and punches the protagonist. If he hadn't defended himself, it would have hit his nose and broken everything. Bro, Take says to Juninho, "You miserable fool, Hangul already told you not to get involved, and here you are insisting on messing with Haegwang? Do you still want to fight one of their officers? Look, I'm not even going to tell you not to do it. If you want to mess with those guys, you'll have to go through me first." Unbelievable, he says. No, I'm just saying, you'll have to beat everyone here together if you want even the slightest chance of defeating one of those Haegwang guys. That's tough. So now, let's have a little chat with Juninho to knock some sense into him. Now, how did everyone find out about his plan to go fight Haegwang? Simple. Hangul told Take last night that the protagonist had gone crazy and was planning to fight those guys. And here's their reaction. They weren't mad about Juninho's intention. They just know it's not good for the family. But honestly, it's just so typical of him, right? He's such a good person who wants to help everyone, but he's incredibly naive. But come on, if it weren't for this, what would the story's drama be about? The protagonist has to get into trouble so we can watch him grow through adversity. That's the truth. And that's why they don't outright forbid him. They say, if he manages to get through the four of them, then sure, he can go fight Haegwang's officers. And if he does, they'll help him, of course. But seriously, what are his chances of winning against these monsters? Even Juninho admits, "Man, there's no way I can defeat you guys." They respond, "Exactly. We'd lose to that guy on our own. If you can't beat us, what do you think you'll do against that monster?" Fair point, he says. But even in this situation, Juninho didn't show any sign of giving up. So Gang decides she'll go first to test if he's up to it, and she goes straight for the kid. Whoa, what are you doing? She punches Juninho in the face right away and asks if he's just going to stand there taking it. While taking the hits, the kid says, "I will. I can't hit her, but I'll use some jiu-jitsu moves like she did on me to take her down." So he grabs her legs and tries to take her down, but he can't. Maybe because she's stronger? And well, things get interesting. Then she picks Juninho up, throws him, and pulls off a German suplex. The kid didn't stand a chance against her. Let's admit he was actually fighting seriously, but she obliterated him. Juninho couldn't do it, and to be honest, I'd want to fight her too. Wait. No, scratch that. Forget I said anything. I have issues. Anyway, the protagonist's mission is to at least beat all of them, and he couldn't beat any of them. When it comes to Sung Bin, the protagonist fights him but can't even land a punch, getting obliterated as well. And each time someone beats him, they tell him to give up on these ideas. After a few minutes to recover, he goes up against the last guy, Take, who has a broken arm. You'd think he'd be the easiest, with a broken arm. But nope, not even close. The moment he sees this monster of a guy, I would have given up right there. And yet, he still has the guts to go at Take, throwing punches left and right, but none of them land effectively. Then Take hits him in the jaw so hard it's like the guy almost meets his end right there. Bro, every punch the protagonist takes would have killed me already. But he doesn't die. Dude's immortal. After that, the protagonist still goes to fight Dayob, who I didn't even notice was there. He tries to fight him, but in 3 seconds it's over. The protagonist gets defeated easily by Dayob as well. At that moment, after being beaten by all of them individually, he comes clean. Bro, listen, you remember all the messes we've gotten into, right? We always ended up involved together, no matter what. Now, knowing that this enemy is deadly, that the guy is insanely strong, are you really going to go there alone? You know you won't make it out alive, and you want to drag us down with you to die too? After so much back and forth, Juninho finally realizes the truth. He can't do it. He says that, for now, he won't go up against Haegwang's delinquents. But he knows that just by taking a stand, he's already changed lives for the better. So he says he won't give up. He'll keep this as his goal, and after he gets his revenge and becomes stronger, then he'll go after Haegwang. The guy has turned into an avenger. Dayob says it's not for him to give up completely, but Take steps in and says, "Actually, it's not about giving up completely. It's about not going there now, and alone. We're going to fight these guys, but first, we need to make sure we won't die against them. So you need to get stronger, man. And when that happens, all of us will go there and fight together, kid." Man, the real lesson is that it's not wrong for Juninho to help people, but he doesn't need to die in the process. Make sure you can help others. Get stronger first, you fool. It's true. We saw that the family decided to test Juninho. They beat him up to see if he was weak, and from that, they concluded that the kid isn't weak but also not strong enough to face real gangsters. But instead of kicking him out because he's weak, they decided to train him to get stronger. Fair enough. Juninho agrees to be trained for a much longer time. All good. But what we didn't expect, and neither did the protagonist, is that Take tells him one of his new friends is a spy. But now what? Which one of the two? They said one of them is, but they don't know which. It's pretty clear to us though, because the next scene is at Haegwang's headquarters, and the guy who leads them, or who I thought was the leader, says the name of the redhead, Sungwon, or something. Can someone explain how to pronounce that name? No. Then I don't understand why they don't show the kid's face. They keep dragging the drama. We already know it's him. Juninho also doubts that one of his new friends is a spy, even with his family saying so. Damn it, Juninho, stop being stupid, man. So, since Juninho doubts it, they take the kid to Hangil, to where he had a guy locked up in a warehouse. The guy locked up there is an agent of Haegwang's crew and spilled everything to Hangil, or at least made him realize the truth. Juninho wants to know how they figured out one of his new friends is a traitor. Hangil says that on the night he saved Juninho, he found everything very suspicious. And after he caught someone watching the family's house, it got even worse. Then he said, this is really suspicious. The guy watching said he'd been sent there to keep an eye out right after Juninho came down from the mountain. And if we recall, Giorgino convinced the guys on the mountain to tell everyone Juninho had been buried there, for good, and had passed away. He threatened them and even took their phones to make sure they wouldn't lie. So, the mountain people didn't say anything, but when Hangil pressed them, they said their leader already knew Juninho had survived, thanks to someone he placed near Juninho. That's when Juninho finally wakes up. His soft heart can't suspect anyone, but notice that the only way they could have found out is if one of these two, the only people who knew the truth, is a traitor. And I still think, I won't rule out the possibility that both of them are traitors. Both have been through several situations with Juninho, and I suspect both of them because they always act mysteriously. Even Hangil says again to Juninho, on the streets there's no one you can trust. This applies to everything because the streets are full of beggars. And we all know what beggars do, right? So, don't trust anyone, brother. Don't trust anyone. And in the middle of the spy revelation drama, the protagonist's phone rings. It's a message from those guys. He doesn't reply to the messages, but the phone rings right after. It's the delinquents calling Juninho. And now what? Answer or not? Juninho doesn't know what to do in this situation because one of the two delinquents is a spy. He doesn't know who it is, and he doesn't know what to do. You don't know, and neither do I. But then he decides to ignore the guys and do what his family said. One of those two guys is a traitor. So, he apologizes for everything he has done, for being too soft-hearted, and he says he will help the family and prioritize them above all else. Finally, a good decision from this guy for once. And when it shows the villains being ignored by the protagonist again, there's that suspenseful atmosphere. The red-haired guy pretending to be nice, and the guy in the cap, who doesn't seem to be the culprit, with his mysterious expression. Who's the culprit here? They're trying to build suspense, but they've already said the guy's name. Is this manga insane? Good though. 2 days later, at a hotel, Haegwang is torturing the father of the guy in the cap, who happens to be a neighborhood associate. They want to force him to join the neighborhood's corruption, but the man refuses. He says he won't give in, no matter what they do to him, and he's been taking beatings for 2 days straight without breaking. Man, this guy is tough, and the torture is on a professional level, really. They've got him tied up, dunking him in a bathtub to drown him, then pulling him out to ask, well, are you going to give in or not? And the guy keeps saying no. Now that's some serious resolve. The leader of Haegwang, the real bad guy, says to him, man, if you don't give in, I'll kill you. And the guy still says no, that he won't do anything corrupt, standing his ground. So the leader tells him, I know your son. If you don't give in, I'll kill your boy. Then the scene shifts. The guy leaves the room, and it doesn't show whether the father agreed or how he reacted, but apparently, he's still sticking to his principles. Man, now that's integrity. Now let's get to the big picture. Haegwang is trying to eliminate the Hangil family because they're blocking their expansion in the neighborhood. They already have a crew ready to go kill them, but they haven't acted yet because the leader here has a plan to take them down from within. But their infiltration plan didn't work out, so now they're saying they'll put their direct attack into action. Oh yeah, we remember that Hangil already knew these guys were keeping an eye on him. He even said they were planning to attack him. Another thing, Hangil said he couldn't get involved in the fight directly because if he does, the real scary leader of their group will step in. So that's why the family, without Hangil, will have to face the gang first. Hangil himself says that their leader isn't this redhead, but someone even scarier. It's always like that, isn't it? You think that guy is the final boss, but then there's always another boss above the boss. Alright, so then two little shoes show up. Got it? In front of the hotel, all of a sudden. Bam bam! Haegwang's base, our enemies, is a 3-story building. Juninho's crew found this out through the guy they captured, and since sitting around waiting doesn't solve anything, they decided to take the fight straight to the bad guys. That's right, ignoring problems never solves them. So they storm the building, smashing everything in their path. The first guys they encounter take a beating. On the first floor, they knock everyone down and grab a guy to interrogate again. Where's the boss? I don't know where he is. Where's the boss? Where's the boss? Put him in the bag. Under torture, the guy admits that the building has 3 floors and that the main room, where the delinquents hang out, is in room 301. Then they decide on the fastest route to get there. After extracting the information, it's back to beating people up. You've got to show no mercy. There are no innocents here, right? If you're in a criminal building, you're a criminal. No exceptions. I don't know, not even the janitor here deserves forgiveness. He's probably a criminal too. So, a kick to the mouth, a punch to the jaw, and the gang keeps mowing everyone down. The extras, watching these monsters in action, realize it's hopeless. I have to agree with them, one of them says. Then they gather in front of our protagonist's crew. The least extra of the extras steps forward to speak the truth to them. He says, "Look, please, can you just go ahead? We're just minions. It's pointless for us to get beaten up here for nothing. Just go, and we'll pretend we didn't see anything." Seems smart enough, but, as always, criminals are liars and cheats. It's all just talk, and you know what a liar deserves? Take it to the mouth. Dayob punches the liar right in the mouth and sets things straight for everyone. Since they're not aware, they're not here today just to beat up their leader. The mission is to beat up everyone and dismantle this gang of scumbags. The goal is to destroy the entire gang. And then, you already know, right? The beatdown starts again, and the first floor is completely decimated. The guys are all down, and damn, nobody died. But well, dying from a punch? Although there are punches out there that can kill, right? But never mind. So, our crew moves on, heading to the second floor. Everything is going smoothly. All they have to do now is climb the stairs and reach the boss's office. But it's never that easy. The stairs are blocked, so they'll have to take another route to go up. And along the new path, more punching bags start popping up everywhere. And here we go again. Take it, take it, take it. As expected, these guys are nothing. They're just fodder. So much so that Juninho starts reflecting on how much stronger he's gotten. Completely different from the last time he fought Haegwang. Did he forget the last time he got beaten up? It was the day he was buried alive. Could the kid have memory loss from getting beaten up so much? And since the guys are only getting wrecked, they retreat once again. What's the punching bag's plan now? There's got to be one, right? They can't just be messing around. It's true. Cut to the crime room. The guys say they have a plan. The guy in the suit asks Cabalinho how he plans to stop them. He already called the gang's officers, but it'll take time for them to get here. Oh, the Megazords are on their way. They're just making the cannon fodder buy time. But Cabalinho says no, that's not exactly it. They are buying time, but there are 2 candidates for gang officers already in the building. So, the guy says they might not even need reinforcements. Then it cuts back to our crew fighting, and suddenly, someone pulls out a knife. Dayob defends himself but gets cut. Dayob let his guard down, and suddenly takes one to the ribs, and the guys fall. And that's when the supposed officer candidates from Haegwang show up. One is a dark emo who likes to play with knives, and the other is, I don't know, a muscular guy with brass knuckles and military gear. So, alright, Juninho, just by looking at them, already knows these guys are different. These ones are dangerous. The fight begins. The guy with the knife throws attacks that are impossible to defend, and the one with the brass knuckles was about to land a hit on Dayob's forehead. He didn't even see it coming. But at that moment, guess who shows up? Juninho arrives, kicks the guy in the mouth, and this time, he's the one defending the stronger guys. And in that instant, a flashback runs through Dayob's mind. Wrong. Just kidding, through Juninho's mind. Juninho remembers that he was always the one being defended. The others were the strongest, but this time, it's him who's going to take care of the crew. Or at least, take care of his own back. He'll fight as an equal, alongside the family, because now the kid has grown up and is on their level too. Look at that, man. And if you doubt it, if anyone doubts it, just watch. The guys attack the protagonist, and he takes it. He blocks the brass knuckles, which feel more like a gunshot, tearing through his arm. It must have hurt like hell. But just as he trained for, when he gets the chance, he grabs the guy and counters, knocking down the delinquent. The first one is defeated. Now, Juninho is a beast. He's crazy strong. And let's go for a quick summary. Juninho is the one who has grown the most in terms of smashing delinquents. But that doesn't mean the other members of the Hongo family haven't gotten stronger since their defeat against Negan. You know, the guy who lost his eyebrows. Help! At Haegwang's building, Juninho managed to hold his own in the fight and take down one of the candidates for executive roles. Meanwhile, the other 2 strongest members, Take and Dayob, managed, but barely, to deal with the guy wielding the knife. So, they nerfed the 2 boys and buffed Juninho's skills, huh? Our guys are at a disadvantage, even though it's 5 of them against 2 executives and their gang. Still, Sungbin tells Take, Juninho, and Dayob to go to the top floor, saying he and Gaon will handle everyone else on their floor by themselves. Did you notice how Sungbin sent everyone else upstairs, leaving himself to handle the guys who were pressuring the two strongest fighters? I found that a bit suspicious. Good though. So, it's the guy with brass knuckles and the bread knife guy versus Gaon and Sungbin. Let's see who wins this fight. Meanwhile, on the third floor, the three arrive at the office door. For some reason, Juninho takes the lead, and as he tries to enter without knocking, he gets hit so hard that this officially turns into Dragon Ball. The guy goes flying just like in the show. All that's missing are the mountains for him to crash into and shatter. Then, two of Haegwang's main executives come out of the room. The protagonist doesn't take the punch to the face and lose all his teeth, though. He defends himself, and defends beautifully. But how didn't his arms break? Someone explained that to me. And we know bosses are meant to give orders, not do the dirty work. But since the three showed up at the door, the guy with the dreads has to fight. He goes for Juninho, but Dayob steps in and tries to strike him. He says they're both going to fight, not just the protagonist. But mid-strike, the guy breaks free and tries to attack Juninho again. Juninho dodges, Dayob grabs him, and the guy takes his first punch to the jaw. Can they pull this off? Meanwhile, Take goes after the guy in glasses. I thought he was just a negotiator, but when the guy starts blocking Take's punches with ease. Okay, maybe not with ease, it probably hurt a little. But then the guy in glasses says he thought Take and his crew were weaker, especially since they lost to Negan, who is nobody in their gang. Fair point, but Take says they've been training hard every day since then. Naturally, he's gotten stronger and goes after the guy in glasses again. But then the guy takes off his shirt, and now I'm shocked. Man, this guy looks skinny when dressed, but shirtless, he's a wall of muscle. And the tattoos hidden under his suit? If someone has tattoos like that, at the very least, they're a hardcore mafia member. Take throws a punch, but the guy blocks it and lands. What? Is that a punch or some kind of finger strike? What even is that? I don't know. The guy starts slapping Take around, and blood starts coming out. Damn man. Then he lands a clean hit on Take's jaw. This nerd-looking delinquent is ridiculously good at fighting. While Take keeps taking hits, Juninho and Dayob try to put pressure on the guy with dreads, but it's not working. Seeing this, Juninho tries to interfere again, but it's no use. The guy in glasses declares that before executing the three of them up on the top floor, they'll also execute the two downstairs. Then, all the executive officers together will finish off Cho Han-gil. Alright. The guy in glasses goes to finish off Take with a kick to the head, but Take catches it, because obviously, he's not taking a kick to the head for free. He blocks the kick, but that's not all. Take throws the guy away, and they start trading blows with their absurdly long legs, like some kind of Sanji from One Piece fight. The guy in glasses tells them that resisting is pointless. Both Dayob and Take, supposedly the strongest members of the Hango family, are struggling to hold their ground. At this point, Take mentions that if they think the two of them are the strongest, they're mistaken. Downstairs, those two are fighting as well, and the scene shifts to Gaon fighting the knife guy. She almost manages to retaliate, but she can't because the knife guy is too strong. He tries to finish her off, but at that moment, he takes a punch straight to the chin, right in the mouth, probably breaking it. And that's when the boy steps in. Sungbin moves to the center of the hallway, jumps, and starts wrecking everyone in his path. Then, the scene cuts back to the top floor corridor. Take is still talking, pointing out the quiet one, the guy who doesn't really like fighting. When the guy steps in to fight, he's the real deal, the strongest in the gang after Hangil, Sun Bingola. And when he takes off his jacket and throws it over Gaon, man, oh man, look at how much the guy bulked up. Out of nowhere, he takes off the jacket and gains 300 kilograms of muscle, just like the guy in the suit. He was skinny, took off his jacket, and inflated. Sungbin, skinny and calm, takes off his coat, and boom, 300 kilograms of pure muscle. Damn, he steps in to take on the two guys who were putting pressure on the other 5 from Hango's family. Then the Megazord tells everyone to go upstairs, saying he'll face them alone. Well, not entirely alone. Gang stays behind for moral support, but it counts. The guy takes off his hoodie, inflates, and is armored for real, man. He charges in, and in the exchange of blows with the two guys he starts swinging. But the Topaturo says his punches are fast but too light. Then he lands one on Sung Bingola that sends him flying. Yeah, brass knuckles make it easy, right? Give him some brass knuckles, and let's see if he doesn't hit hard too. The guy beats Sungbin down with brass knuckles so hard he slams into the door and gets thrown into the office. And folks, the tide has turned. The guy with the pompadour walks in, saying he's going to finish it here and now. At that moment, unbelievably, Sung Bingola says, "That's not how you punch. Punches must be fast and precise," and lands an uppercut to the guy's jaw. Man, oh man, the guy is wrecked. And Sung Bingola just says, "Next." Damn, the guy with the pompadour drops unconscious to the floor. Man, Sung Bingola was just letting them hit him for fun, to make it interesting. The guy with the blade throws his shirt to block Sung Bingala's vision and slashes without him seeing. This jerk cuts the shirt like paper. It's basically a Ginsu knife. Even so, in the exchange of blows, punch versus blade, Sung hits the emo in the chest and sends him flying. But check out the gift he leaves for the guy. Told him to keep it for himself. Look at the face of this son of a fruit, man. Then he goes all out for real. And watching him charge at Sung Bingola, one step away from him possibly dying, all I could think was, how is this kid so ripped? Muscular as hell, and also ripped up from the blades, huh? Cut to Juninho's fight now. The damn story cuts away from Sung Bingala's fight at the best moment. Juninho and Dayob are up against the executive with dreads. The two of them together, giving it their all, can't even put pressure on the guy, let alone beat him. Juninho is dumb, but not that dumb. He knows this, and he starts remembering the training he always did with Hangil. There was a technique he learned specifically for situations like this, against a guy this size, a gorilla. Juninho tells Dayob to trust him and says he has a plan. All he needs is for Dayob to immobilize the guy with dreads for a moment so he can use his secret technique. Simple. So Dayob charges in, tries to punch the guy, lands a hit, and starts exchanging blows with him. But if the plan was to hold him down, he can barely even distract him. Juninho steps in to take advantage, but the guy hits him straight in the chest and sends him flying. Dayob tries to immobilize the guy but can't even distract him, and now he's in the guy's grasp, ready to be finished off. Damn, it's getting tense. Juninho tries again to charge at him, and once more, gets a kick to the chest, sending him flying. Dayob takes a punch to the face, and starts getting beaten even more. Punch after punch, man, he's going to die. It's true. Juninho charges again, and again, another kick to the chest sends him flying. There's no way, man. This guy is the gang's chief executive. How is Juninho supposed to beat someone like that? I can't even imagine. Then the story shows Juninho looking at Dayob, barely conscious, beaten to a pulp, and all because he tried to immobilize the guy at Juninho's request. Juninho even starts feeling guilty. But then Dayob, barely conscious, grabs the guy's legs from the ground. Dayob, on the floor, says he managed it. Go, Juninho. Shine, since you said you were going to shine? And Juninho smiles, jumps toward the guy, and what was he going to do again? Grabbing the guy by his dreads and landing a knee strike to his face, the thug falls to the ground. And now Juninho sits on him. What? Wait a second, the plan was to sit on him? What? I don't get it. Explain this to us, Juninho, please. So, here's the thing. In this flashback, as you can see, I was training with Master Hangil. He taught me that I need to throw the guy to the ground. Then I sit on him, but not for the reason you're thinking. I put the guy in an arm lock, and no matter how strong you are, an arm lock is still an arm lock. If you let him roll around on your lap, you're kind of asking for it, aren't you? So Juninho applies the arm lock on the guy, and now, yes, an arm lock is an arm lock. Who can handle that? But the guy manages to grab with his other hand and starts breaking free from Juninho's grip. Then, another flashback, the final part of the lesson. If you're on top of the guy, you punch, kick, you go all out, because he can't attack you, but you can. So Juninho kicks the guy while trying to maintain the lock. Now he's got it. He grabs the guy's arm, gets ready, and, man, I heard the sound of the arm breaking. Did you hear it too? It broke, dude. And the one who felt the pain the most was the guy with the dreads. He screams, and Dayob, watching the scene, can only think, good thing his sacrifice wasn't in vain. The guy in glasses, seeing the fight and that scene, starts mocking Take, saying, yeah, it broke, right? So what if it broke? You don't know that guy. He's not just the strongest among the executives, he's a real monster. And then the scene cuts back to Juninho and the guy with the broken arm, who's now lifting Juninho into the air. What the hell? Wasn't his arm broken? And then the guy slams Juninho's back into the ground. Is his arm broken or not? It's like giving you hope and then snatching it away. Take, seeing Juninho suffering like that, tries to rush in to help but takes a punch right to the mouth. The guy tells him he's not in a position to worry about someone else's fight. And, let's be honest, that's the cold hard truth. The guy with the dreads picks Juninho up from the ground again, lifts him into the air, and this time throws him through the door. Where does he land? Right in the middle of the bathroom, where the father of the guy in the cap is being held captive. At that moment, Juninho thinks, damn, if the guy in the cap's father is really locked up here, then he was telling the truth. The kid isn't the traitor. So, since he's not the traitor, the only other option is, yes, it's the red-haired guy. Now do you realize? Yes, it's the damn red-haired guy. And now, what's going to happen? Juninho is trapped there with the guy. What can save the kid in this situation? Because this guy is determined to kill everyone there. Juninho, the Hangil family. Except for this one guy. He wants to extort him for money. Man, you're just all about the cash. Yep, our family came to this hotel to fight the gang that lives here. The goal was to wipe them out, but not kill them. Just beat them up so they'd give up being a gang. Simple stuff. But once they got there, it turned into a brawl everywhere. These guys are a gang. They absolutely do the kind of work that sends people to the other side. And to get through it, our crews split up. The building has 3 floors. They swept through the first floor, and on the second floor, Sug Bingola and Gaung stayed behind to fight 2 of the guys and their crew. Meanwhile, on the 3rd floor, there are 2 bosses. So the split goes like this. Kim Taek is up against the muscular suit guy, while Juninho and Daeob face the guy with the dreads. It's all blood and guts. On the 2nd floor, we find out that Sug Bingola is the strongest in the family, apart from Hangul. He wiped out everyone, except the guy with the kunai, who's giving him trouble, but that's only because he's defending the injured girl. On the 3rd floor, Taek's arm is broken and slashed, and the guy in the suit is a Megazord. The fight is insane. He's got the same tattoos as Sug Bingola, so there's definitely something special about this guy. Now we know there are 3 simultaneous fights. Daeob and Juninho. First, the red-haired Vegeta got beaten up so badly he can't move anymore. Now all that's left is to stay on the ground rooting for Juninho. Juninho managed to break Dread's arm with a lucky move, but the luck ran out when, even with a broken arm, the guy threw him against the wall and started drowning him in a bathtub. Man, this is getting really dark. Things are starting to feel like a horror movie. Juninho wasn't just about to be defeated, he was about to die, though dying also counts as a defeat. That's true. Back on the 2nd floor, Sug Bingola, the knife guy, admits that the opponent is too strong. If it weren't for the injured girl he's worried about, he would already be just as wrecked as the others. And during the fight, Sug Bingola even recalls a nightmare he had about his old miserable life. He remembers waking up and having lunch with his new family, the most awesome group ever. Then it cuts again to Kim Taek, trying to put pressure on the suit guy, while suit guy says he should have joined Haegwang when he had the chance. Taek throws a kick, and the guy catches it. Then he spins midair and lands another kick with the other leg. This time, it connects perfectly. I'm going to kill you now. Take this, take this, take this. The guy keeps pounding on him, hitting his ribs, his broken arm, and when he falls to the ground, the suit guy humiliates him even further. This, by the way, shows how cruel the guy is. He steps on the broken arm of a fallen man, and when he's about to directly strike the arm again, Taek is screwed. Daeob can't do anything but stand there watching. Oh, come on. Is no one going to do anything? Seriously? Someone, please, do something. Breaking an already broken arm is just cruel. Then, suddenly, Sug Bingola shows up and punches the suit guy. But then the suit guy wonders, what's going on with the 2nd floor crew for this guy to be here? And as for the 2nd floor crew, let me show you, buddy. These guys didn't even stand a chance. This other one put up a decent fight, but look at him now. And this one? He's going to need a wheelchair and a new knife. Man, even the knife broke into pieces. Imagine what happened to his teeth and spine. Deserved. The monster has arrived. Sug Bingola, all dark and menacing. He doesn't say anything out loud, but in his mind he thinks, man, I just got chills. Gives me goosebumps. You're crazy. It doesn't matter if I die here, but my family can't. So I'll protect them with my life. Meanwhile, Juninho is still being drowned nearby. And me? I don't even care right now. I want to see this fight. Sug Bingola rips his shirt off and declares he's going to wreck this guy too, just like he did with the entire floor below. He immediately starts trading punches. He tries 3 times, 1, 2, 3. On the 4th, the suit guy dodges, but Sug lands the first hit on his jaw. Taek, watching, tries to seize the opportunity. He goes to hit the guy while he's down, but the suit guy not only dodges but nearly kicks his head off in the process. Again Taek? He's lucky Sug Bingola steps in and defends him once more. Man, there's no staying calm reading this. Taek is trying to help, but he's not on the guy's level and is injured. Sug Bingola tells him not to interfere, especially since he knows this guy. He has unfinished business, and just needs to end this himself. It's personal and rooted in the past. And now, it's truly a fight between 2 equals. Taek and Daeob are just watching now because Sug Bingola is going to destroy the suit guy. And how's Juninho doing? Is he going to drown? Or not? And he died. The great Sungbin, known as Sug Bingola, ripped off his shirt and showed off his muscles. Thanks to him, Taek won't die in this fight today. We now know Sug Bingola is the strongest among the strongest in Hangul's family. After taking on 2 guys on the floor below all by himself, now he's up against the executive in the suit, who's also ripped. Taek says he wants to help in the fight, but Sungbin says it's unnecessary. And there's another thing. This fight is personal. It turns out Sung knows this guy. Cue another flashback. Oh, there's also Juninho's fight. He's still being drowned, but he's got a good lung capacity, so he can hold on. In the past, Sung Bingola lived in an orphanage and was happy there, though he had his frustrations and rebellious phases. Because of this, he would sneak out sometimes to brood. Who hasn't, right? On one of those days, in an alleyway, he witnessed a murder. And guess whose murder it was? None other than the guy in the suit. Yes, him. His name is Han Young-min. The guy in the suit, back then, 8 years ago, worked as a mafia hitman. His job was to eliminate other mafiosos. That day, he only spared the witness because the kid begged, saying he was from an orphanage. Somehow, the man sympathized, but then, the scoundrel left one crime to commit another. He went to extort the orphanage over the boy's life, and even though the director handed over the money, she was struck on the head and, during the mafioso's operation, passed away. So yeah, that's how it went. In the morning, the guy kills someone in an alley for work. By lunchtime, he's robbing an orphanage and claiming another victim. This guy's schedule is packed. By nightfall, he can probably squeeze in a couple more kills. It's true. After that day, with the director's death, the orphanage was shut down, and the children were separated and sent to other orphanages. Except for Sung, who ran away that day. The boy felt guilty for everything. Because of him, the director died, and all the children were separated. So he vowed to get revenge on the executioner. He tried to trip the guy up but ended up on the ground, obviously. Someone like him could never be taken down by a child. And if the director's death scarred the boy, that day Han Young-min took a blade, slashed the kid's forehead, and left a scar to remind him that weak people like him must get used to always losing. Always. And that's why Sung wears his hair like that, to hide the scar. Now, more than 8 years later, with the kid all bulked up, he says it's been a long time since he last lost and starts handing out beatings. He starts with punches to the stomach to soften him up, then moves higher. The guy tries to block, but he can't keep his guard against the kid and ends up taking several hits to the stomach. Man, each punch is brutal, gorgeous, even. He finishes with a punch to the stomach that sends the guy flying. Man, if a guy rips his shirt, makes that face, and walks towards you like that, what do? You just give up and walk away, man. And he did all this with strawberry juice pouring like crazy from the wound he got in the previous fight. Meanwhile, Take is picking up Daeob's remains, who's lying nearby, battered. Juninho, afterward, is fished out of the bathtub where he was drowning. When the guy in the suit gets up for round 2, if Sungbin ripped his shirt to show off his muscles, now his mentor is doing the same. Youngmin takes off his shirt, revealing tattoos everywhere, even demonic symbols, marking him as a killer. At that moment, Youngmin admits that the boy he calls Trash Bag has grown stronger but still insists he's going to lose. And now it's action again. The two go at each other, shirtless, trading punches, and now it's evenly matched. And everyone knows, right? Just by taking your shirt off, you get stronger. It's scientifically proven. But as soon as the guy in the suit takes his shirt off, he starts gaining the upper hand. You remember? Come at me, bro. You know why he won? He was shirtless. The fight, which had been balanced, starts to tilt in favor of the more experienced guy. In the middle of the fight, another flashback plays. After the day Sung got the scar on his forehead, he lived on the streets and tried multiple times to take out the guy but always failed. That went on until the day he got used to losing and was about to give up on everything. That was the day he met the man, the god of the streets and brawls, Cho Han-gil. And despite being a demon to those who deserve it, he also has a good heart for those who deserve kindness. He took Sungbin in, and from then on, Sung began to truly have a happy life. One subtle detail. He always keeps his hair long to hide the mark and has a tattoo on his left arm to cover the scars of his past. If you picked up on that, good for you. And now, in the middle of a fight he was starting to lose, comes the final piece of the flashback. That day was the night before their fight, and Han-gil, in the bathroom during the early hours, shared a personal moment. Sungbin, let me tell you something. Go ahead, man. Hey, are your hands clean? What do you mean? I'm washing them right now. Then grab mine and shake it. Just kidding. What? Anyway, man, you're not losing tomorrow. Protect our family. Our family. There's no punch in the world that can knock down a man protecting his family. During the fight, the suit guy feels the pressure, and then feels a punch straight to his jaw that sends him flying, courtesy of Sung Bingala's Megazord arm. You can clearly see the broken jaw and teeth knocked out in one piece, showcasing the mastery of that punch. The winner of the fight? The guy who doesn't need to get used to losing anymore, and has a family, Sung Bingala. Let me tell you, man, this fight and Sung's triumph were incredible. The only bad thing is that Juninho drowned. So yeah, kind of sad, right? Just kidding. Here's what happened. Juninho was struggling so long to free himself that it gave Take enough time to get beaten up by the muscular suit guy, and Sungbin had enough time to demolish the entire second floor and come upstairs to finish off the suit guy. Justice served. Alright, they managed to win, but in reality, all three of them are wrecked. None of them can keep fighting. They're all broken and battered. Juninho, however, got lucky when he locked the guy in a hold, punched his face, and even got help from the other captive. So, our drowning boy isn't going to die after all. But just as Juninho gets out of the tub, Dread grabs a crowbar and hits him on the ear. Then he hits him with full force, again, with the crowbar. Man, things got so brutal that a flashback starts rolling for Juninho. It's a memory of him talking to Hangil, blaming himself for putting everyone in danger with Haegwang. And it's true, I'm not lying. Juninho went after those guys, and because of that, everyone, including the guy with the cap, was put at risk. So, he promises never to help anyone outside the family again. But Hangil tells him it was stupid to do that. But so what? Life on the streets is free. You can do what you want and learn from your mistakes. Despite everything, the family always sticks together and supports each other. Man, this kid, I'm starting to sweat here, if you know what I mean. Dread keeps beating Juninho, and then turns to beat the captive for helping him. But this time, Juninho grabs the crowbar with his hand and lands a hit on Dread's broken arm, not just to hurt him but also to set him up for a punch straight to the jaw, likely knocking out a few teeth. Now things are different. If Juninho was lacking anger before, he's got plenty now. He dodges, lands a punch to the guy's stomach, and as the guy charges again, before he knows it, Juninho's foot is already hitting his head. Juninho is either deeply inspired now, or full of rage, which is basically the same thing. And take note, everything the kid has learned in the past, he's using it now, over and over. Now it's Dread's turn for a flashback. And as always, whoever gets a flashback is the one losing. That's a great sign for us. Dread sees Juninho fighting with everything he has to protect his family. And wouldn't you know it, the miserable guy had a family too, a group just like this, that he fought to protect. But one day, they betrayed him, and that's where the trauma comes in. Naturally, he was betrayed, and on the same day, since he was such a good fighter, he destroyed his own family and everyone who was with them. But from that day forward, he only believed in business and power. That's when the founder of Haegwang appeared and offered him a place in the gang to start working for them in their shady business. The guy joined to become a clandestine gravedigger. Look at that. I just found it a bit too convenient that on the same day he fought with his family, got betrayed, destroyed them, and then immediately the founder shows up to offer him a spot in the gang. It felt a little orchestrated, didn't it? Anyway, since then, he's kept his distance from people and only forms relationships based on power. Today's the day a teenager lands punches on his face. How did this ever happen? He wonders. He can't accept it, and immediately punches the brat who's challenging him. Grabbing his shirt, he headbutts him and throws the boy far away, all fueled by pure rage. See how anger gives people strength? But just as it works for one side, it works for the other too. Juninho isn't giving up either. He looks up, and it's clear, he's going again. He lands a kick that seems to have broken the guy's arm too. Huh, did it break? Of course, it did. It must hurt like hell. My arm, man. Told you so. Then comes a punch to the face. And if that wasn't enough, another one, and another. Now it seems like the brick, Juninho, might actually be broken. But when he looks up, the boy is still standing. This makes him even angrier. We're used to seeing this boy take a beating, but this time, when the guy comes in with a kick to the face, Juninho takes a step to the side, dodging with the most stylish move ever, and punches the thug right in the mouth. Now things are changing. So much anger, man. The guy with the dreads doesn't understand what's happening. He tells Juninho that this fake life of family is useless. In the streets, there are only two types of people, those who are used and those who use others. Even angrier now, he asks Juninho which one he wants to be and attacks again. But Juninho, with a sly smile, grabs some water from the bathtub and throws it in the guy's face. He says, "Street fights must have blocked your vision of the world." Then he grabs an iron pipe, jumps, and says he's going to unblock his vision with some good old blunt force. Man, this guy's tough. Now, let's pause for a moment. Juninho explains that his life has always been filled with suffering and constant beatings. That's what led him to the streets. But ever since he met this group, his life of fear changed. Now, besides being accepted, he no longer has to feel afraid because he knows that whenever he needs help, the people he trusts now are there for him. As he charges at the guy, look who shows up to back him up. Someone grabs the dread guy. Juninho then says, "Take this, you punk! I'm going to smash your head in. Don't mess with me!" Boom! The sound reverberates. After 5 days of intense fights, we finally have the winning side. They can't even stand anymore, but they've won. Everyone played their part, some more, some less, but in the end, it worked out. Juninho was the star and took down the boss. Now, where's the father of the guy they came to rescue? Juninho searches and searches but can't find him. No one saw when he disappeared. He goes looking for him. Not in the corridor, not on the first floor, not at the entrance. He grabs the first guy he sees to try to get information. The worst part is, the minions refuse to spill anything. They take beatings but still say nothing. And since Juninho isn't the strongest when it comes to extracting info through brutality, he goes to search the basement without any leads, down to the parking lot. Picture this, Juninho, with malicious intent and a nanomachine full of hacks. Just imagine. Also, remember how Juninho got beat up like a side character earlier? When he recalls that, he collapses on the stairs because he doesn't even have the strength to walk. What keeps him going is the guilt of ignoring the guy who was looking for his dad, because he could have been the traitor. So, with bloodshot eyes, and blood in his mouth and all over his body, he presses on. And guess who he finds? One of his suspicious friends. We all know this bastard is the traitor, but the guy plays it cool and acts friendly with Juninho. He says he came down here to help look for the Cap guy's father but found nothing, and when he heard the noises upstairs, he didn't bother going up. He claims he only searched down here and says the only place he hasn't checked is that door over there. He takes Juninho to the door, and the fool believes him. The cottonhead traitor chats along the way, reminiscing about the good times they had together, saying how great they were, and how he'd like to eat pizza with them again. And wouldn't you know it, in the middle of this nonsense talk, bam! The naive and immature Juninho gets punched right in the forehead by the liar. At least he tried, because, in truth, the guy defended himself, and he did so while immediately asking why Juninho was doing this, since they were supposed to be friends. Then Sherlock Holmes says that when he arrived, the guy was messing with the car and kept hiding his hands the entire time, non-stop. That's when I figured out his true intention. My porridge in your hands. No, wait. Then it shows us the car. We realize, yes, the kid's father is inside the car. Look at all this blood here, man. Juninho, furious, attacks again, aiming straight for the guy's mouth and lands a hit, or not. Once again, the guy defends himself, even more easily this time. At this moment, the guy reveals that he's also an executive at Haegwang, and he's much, much stronger than Juninho expected. Notice how, out of nowhere, the boy inflates. It's like a tiny head on a giant body. Juninho tries again, attacks the guy, but he dodges easily and starts beating Juninho up again. The kid is about to break a world record for getting beat up in a single day. The guy could even take a penalty shot straight at his head. But just then, the guy in the cap shows up and saves Juninho from taking a penalty shot to the face. The guy in the cap arrives, exhausted, saying that he was supposed to be dead by now. This guy right here in front of us sent people to kill me, beat me up, and told them to bury me. But he left before they could finish the job. When he left, I got up, pulled out a knife, and told the guys, come on, I dare you. And well, I beat the guys who were there. It's that old saying, right? If you want something done well, pay a lot for it. Or there's another option, do it yourself. But if you're not good at it, how will you do it right? Pay someone who's really good at it. It's true. The two of them together now. Juninho apologizes to the guy in the cap because he didn't believe him and ignored his calls when he needed him. The guy says it's fine, no problem. What matters is that you came here to fight for my dad, right? When Juninho says yes, the guy responds, then let's take this guy down together. The villain, though, has a twisted sense of humor. He says, man, I saved you guys that day. You're going to do this to me? Juninho retorts, no, we're grateful. That's why we're going to destroy you with a lot of gratitude. And now it's 2 against 1. Out of nowhere, this dialogue happens. Then the villain goes after the two of them, lands hit after hit, and in 3 or 4 moves, both of them are on the ground. The guy with the knife pulls it out again, but the villain blocks it, saying, you're way too slow, and punches him in the mouth again. With both guys on the ground, the villain declares that in this world, what matters most is strength. And since he's the strongest here, there are few people in this city who can defeat him. Then he throws a few more punches at Juninho, here and there, and says that being the strongest gives him the right to do whatever he wants. He prepares to break Juninho's arm, but just then, a flying kick comes out of nowhere and knocks him onto another guy. Now look who's arrived, the newcomer says. Whoever's the strongest can do whatever they want. Well, now someone stronger than you is here. Let's see if I can do whatever I want. The delinquent complains, saying they had agreed he wouldn't get involved in Haegwang's affairs. But Hongo replies, shut up. Don't you say the strongest can do whatever they want? So, do you have a problem with what I'm doing now? No. The strongest among the strongest is this guy, Cho Hongil. From the start, wherever he goes, he puts his cane on the table. People don't even dare try to challenge him. Now this delinquent, who was undercover, claims to be stronger than the guy with dreads who was already defeated. He beats up Juninho and the random guy in the cap and has the audacity to face this legend, this angel who's just appeared. The badass starts throwing punches, and wouldn't you know it, the scoundrel manages to defend himself and even puts a bit of pressure on him. He says the legends about the famous Cho Hongil must be exaggerated, and that now he's going to take his place in those legends. Wow, look at the nerve of this guy, man. Keep dreaming, keep dreaming. Hongil blocks the guy's kick and lightly punches him, asking if he can start fighting for real now. The guy says yes, so he begins, charging forward. The first punch, the guy thinks he can block it like before, but suddenly, take that! The smug look on his face vanishes instantly. Hongil follows up with some kicks, then adds punches to the mix. And just like that, his arm comes from below, you can't tell where it's going, and lands square on the guy's face before he even sees it. Hongil starts taking the fight seriously, and Sungwon realizes he's lucky to dodge even a few hits. With the guy now on the ground, Hangul looks down at him and says that in life, he's met many people like him, thinking they're the strongest, until they meet him. As Hangul moves in for the final blow, the guy raises his hands and says he surrenders, that he's lost. But Hangul asks him what he's doing, saying that things don't work that way. He can't just say he's lost and walk away. It doesn't work like that, and he's right. Then someone says that if Hangul lets him go now, everything that happened today will be erased from the higher-ups' knowledge. The whole fight between the family and Haegwang will be as if it never happened. He just has to shake his hand, let him go, and the deal is done. Hangul even moves his hand toward his, almost agreeing. Someone says it's the right choice to protect his family. Take that. Right in the mouth again. He didn't even see it coming. Someone says Hangul is insane for rejecting the deal, but the badass replies that he doesn't need to make any deals. By the way, he was just in a meeting with Haegwang's leaders moments ago. And bam, another punch, just to keep the momentum going. One more hit here, another one there. Someone would have taken even more if some lunatic on a motorcycle hadn't burst in, trying to run over Hangul but failing. The guy grabs the girl, puts her on the bike, and takes off. Yeah, that was someone sent by Haegwang to extract him. Lucky for him, because otherwise it would have been his last day on Earth. But there will be other chances. Just wait, man, just wait. In the end, the father of the guy in the cap was rescued, though maybe not alive. The whole crew leaves, beaten to a pulp but victorious. We won, damn it! The guy in the cap wasn't the spy. He really wanted to save his dad. He tells Juninho he'll always owe him, thanks him deeply, and leaves. Look at the crew's faces. Tell me, do they think it was worth helping Juninho? Let us know. On the way home, everyone's wrecked. Gaon can't believe Dayob can eat while being so battered. She and Sungbin can't even move a finger. Well, yeah, some took more hits than others, right, girl? They also know that even though they're all beaten up, they didn't lose like last time with the bat-wielding guy, Negan. Now, the most important thing. As they're eating, they ask Hangul, their leader, about something. He had said before that he couldn't get involved in this fight because it would mean declaring war on Haegwang. But in the end, he showed up like a maniac and took everyone down. What changed? Hangul explains that he found out Haegwang already has plans to come after them sooner or later, so avoiding war with them is just delaying the inevitable. Makes sense. But here's a question for the crew and us. How does he know all this? Where does this guy get his information? And also, how is Gaong still looking so good here? Look at her. Hangul tells them it's nothing special. He gets his information because Haegwang was created by him. Wait, what? At that moment, we find out that the founder of Haegwang was none other than Hangul himself. So how did this happen? Surprised and curious, the crew asks him how it all came to be. He explains that he formed the group in the past with different intentions, alongside his best friend. But over time, his friend changed, started making bad decisions, and Hangul decided to leave. It was only after that that Haegwang became a true criminal organization. Not before that. He's no criminal, just a slacker, but not a criminal. Now, the reason Hangul still has intel on the gang is that he's in contact with their second-in-command, some weirdo named Nam Wanchang. But even so, people still want to know more details about this. What do you mean? But their leader, Cho Hangul, says he still has his privacy. His personal life is still personal, and besides, he's sleepy, so good night. Sure, we know there's still something hidden, because the next day, this is for those who remember that Hangul likes to read manga. Hangul has an old photo tucked away in one of those manga volumes. It's of a so-called best friend and the current gang leader, and judging by his face, you can tell there's more between them than simply going their separate ways. Thinking about it, I guess the fact that the gang is trying to kill Hangul's current family is a good reason, right? Yeah. Then, at a certain church that serves free lunches to beggars, homeless people, or the very poor who can't afford food, there are folks who like to go there to eat for free and still complain, asking for more. Well, no wonder they're chubby, right? Chubby. The guy from the church explains there's a fixed portion for everyone, to make sure nobody goes without. But even so, the freeloader, eating for free, tries to take more by force. So while Mr. Chubby eats and fills his belly with his friend, he says living on the streets is great. He feels young again. The only thing that would make it better is if he could join a gang like Haegwang. That would be awesome. He even says he'd kill to join a gang like that. Hearing their conversation, the church guy walks up to the freeloader. He says that, here in the church, they serve food to those who can't live honestly but are at least trying, not to freeloaders. Whoa, take that, Chubby! Our video ends here. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, bye bye.